Welcome to our pod, and by that I mean on Wednesdays we read. I'm Hannah.
I'm Laura.
And we are usually two best friends who do a deep dive into a new book series, one book at a time. But today we are
three best friends.
Yes. And we are doing a plot breakdown and summary and reaction to episodes 5 through 8 of Wheel of Time season 2. And we are joined by KritterXD of
What up?
KritterXD fame on TikTok and YouTube and everywhere. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
We're so excited that you are here. Can you tell us a little bit about your history with Wheel of Time and what brought you to the show?
Sure. I've been reading The Wheel of Time since I was in middle school, maybe early high school at the latest, and I have reread them multiple times. I started in physical copy. I have listened to all of Michael Kramer and Kate Redding's audiobook versions a couple of times, and I have most recently listened to Rosamund Pike's audiobook versions, the first three, and they are exceptional. All of the audiobooks are exceptional. And yeah, so I've done several rereads, and in the last couple of years, I've done a lot of Wheel of Time content creation. So I've got a live stream, I've done reactions. I actually got to go to the premiere for season 1, which was amazing, and I do a billion TikToks about the Wheel of Time. So yeah, I've talked about it a lot.
Which is how we found you, because I am a fan of your TikToks. And when we were looking for people to talk through, I was like, Laura, we need to get Kritter on because she's amazing. And
Wheel of Time is my thing.
Yes.
And Hannah, I'm ready to be schooled on Wheel of Time because I do not know that much about it.
I don't consider myself a actually, but we'll see. I might.
I actually watched one of your TikToks the other day of it was how I pronounced the characters in Wheel of Time the first time reading it, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's how I did it.
Yep, that's an experience we all have.
I'm also going to be schooled because even with this, I was rewatching these episodes to take notes, and I was like, Ishamael. And I was like, I still don't think I'm getting it right.
We call him Ishi for short.
Yes.
And so does Lanfear, apparently.
Yeah.
Which is delightful.
We're just going to call him Ishi. And then Mo Gideon, I keep thinking I get her name right. And then I hear someone on TV say it. I'm like, did I get it right? I can't do it. So it's complicated. But
I mean, that one changed it. Even in the audiobooks,
I was going to say they pronounce
book.
It differently in the audiobooks. Wasn't it like Mogadine and then it was like Mogideon?
Yeah, in the glossary, it's Mogadine. So I think that's how they started. And then eventually they went to Mogedion, which is how I pronounce it. But honestly, no clue what the right pronunciation is.
I'm pretty sure Robert Jordan didn't know what the right
It's whatever you're feeling.
It's just
that one's just all vibes.
Yeah, it's all vibes. And I think it's depending on which book. Like, does she give us Mogedian vibes or Mogadine? Like, it just, you gotta
as
pick.
long as you get the Moga, whatever comes after that,
everyone's like, we know who it is. Yeah,
close enough.
Spider Lady. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, guys. In my notes, I called them Junior White Cloak and Daddy White Cloak for the Bornhall. I was like, I'm not changing it.
Perfectly fitting.
This is who we're gonna call them.
Have that moment with Dane Bornhall where they had to say his name so obviously, so the audience knew this is Dane Bornhall. It's like, not everyone cares about you, Dane Bornhall. Okay, was that his name?
No, yes, that's so many times in the episode. I'm like, do I have to scroll up so Amazon can tell me who they are, or is someone going to tell me a name? Because that's what I need right now.
I do like the X-ray. I'm not gonna lie, I do like the X-ray.
Yeah. Every time I pause it, I'm like, oh yeah. I forget it's there, honestly, and honestly, the X-ray has given away some stuff, like certain locations and stuff. So
you got to be careful with that. So, well, ladies, we are here with an expert tonight to discuss Wheel of Time episodes 5 through 8, and a lot happens. I will say in my other summary breakdowns, I mostly did groupings of oh, here's what happened to Perrin in this episode, and we're getting more intricate with everything's happening on a proper timeline, so we're going a little bit more timeline with these. But there's so much to go over in these 4 episodes.
They're dense episodes.
Dense,
they are.
Lady Sue Roth, who makes me uncomfortable every time she comes on screen. I don't know how that actress got cast, but wow, they're really finding them. Because episode 5 starts with the Sanchen in the West in Falm, where Lady Sue Roth is coming to see Hyde Lord Turok. and she disobeyed him when she went after that village where she got Perrin. And she mentions like, "Oh, I got you an Ogier and a Shanarin. Isn't this good?" And he's like, "You know, it would have been better listening to the rules." And she's like, "Well, maybe you made a mistake." And then he is, of course, horrified by her dishonor, and he chopped off her nails.
Okay, and the way that she shuddered at that moment, I was like, her nails are so long. Would it have even hurt? They looked like it was a very sharp sword.
Well, I think it's more about the honor. Like she's losing honor, and like
I mean, wouldn't you shudder beforehand though? Because like she shudders like when they're cut off, and I was thinking it'd be more like I can't believe you were punishing me, rather than a like my nails are gone. I don't know.
I also on the second watch, I think she was horrified by how short they cut them. Like I think she was expecting less of a reaction.
The length of them was determined.
Well, because he said you have to like stay out of my presence until like essentially suggesting they have to grow back before you can be in high society again. And so she might have been like, just cut them in half, you know, just cut a little bit, just a few inches. But no, they went down
hard. Yeah. He says she has to be presentable. So I thought that's why she ended up shuddering the second time around, because it was so short. Like she almost had normal people fingernails, and she was like,
she was almost down to the cuticles.
I know. She has my nails. Like, how dare she? Also, I have very weak nail beds, and so seeing their nails, I kept being like, how does that happen?
Truax nails are definitely gold. Like just
plated.
Yeah, because they just clip onto his fingers, I thought.
But I think they're still long. I think
are they?
I think they're like armor, like nail armor.
They
slip on these like wild rings that protect the nails.
I just thought they were fake. Just the clips.
No, it's because if you live in high society, you have to have the long nails. So they're like, "Oh, I must protect these at all costs," because honestly, like they would be breaking those nails. He is a master swordsman, and you can't just have those nails.
How would you do anything with them?
Gosh, speaking of him being a master swordsman, like everyone on the interwebs was speculating, how is Lord Turok going to sword fight with the nails? and we were all getting ready for episode 8, and then what happened, which I'm sure we can talk about. But yeah, we never found out.
You never
I think
found
that's
out.
so hilarious. Everyone's freaking out over that.
Like, how do you sword fight with these wild Wolverine nails? You don't. That's the secret.
They're like, we just do not have the budget to show that fight. But we do have Ishi, who shows up, and I cannot say Ishamael very well, so we will call him Ishi, which is his pet name.
It's canon.
And he's there with Padon Fane to give the Horn of Valir to Lord Turok. That is the opening. Then we come on to Moiraine and Rand just running at breakneck speed, with like Moiraine plot dumping on Rand the entire time they're running, where she's like, "It's Lanfear, she's the Forsaken," and he's like, "Well, you killed her," and she's like, "No, I didn't." And then we see Lanfear.
That wouldn't slow her down.
And then we see Lanfear stitching herself back together, and her first word is "bitch," which I just think is like a perfect like opening.
I squealed. I literally just died in that moment.
That actress is perfect in this role. She is so good.
I love her so much.
I love her so much. And you know, this is the moment where she gets to like change her outfit. She gets to become Lanfear. It's perfect. So and now
she goes all out. It's amazing.
And I wrote down, she is going to get her man.
Yep.
And so Moiraine finds like a horse with a stable person, and she ends up having to slaughter a horse to show you how serious this is.
Which was confusing to me, because they send them off on like a weird, or they end up sending the stable person off with 3 of the horses, and it's like, why did we have to kill that one? Couldn't she have taken 4?
Just brought a spare just in case one of them twists its ankle or something.
I know. I was like, why did one of them have to be slaughtered like that, and then the other 3 ended up just being taken with her?
I think it was to make a point. Like Moiraine is quite literally cutthroat when it comes to protecting the dragon, and we're going to show you that with this sad horse.
That's a large point to make.
They do make some very specific choices when it comes to Moiraine that I was like, wow, you just did that for like to show effect, I guess. Because this one of the funniest moments of this episode that makes me laugh out loud every single time is Rand and Moiraine hiding behind a rock as Lanfear rides by.
Rides right by them.
It's the Kim Kardashian meme, like where she's peeking from around the bushes.
Or like every Disney Channel movie where like there's like the High School Musical thing where Sharpay like comes in and knocks on all the doors, and like Gabrielle just pokes her head out of a wall where it's like she wasn't hiding anywhere.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, they like send the stable master off, who ends up like getting her face stitched together by Lanfear.
That was horrifying, honestly.
That like Maureen sent her on a wild goose chase and just sent the stable master. And also like Maureen kills a horse for nothing because someone just shows up at this stable.
Like, immediately.
That's what it's there for.
Yeah, this whole storyline at the beginning, I was like, oh wow, there's a lot of bad stuff happening.
Yeah. Although Lanfear's comment about like, you know, this being the mode of transportation or something, she's like horses or whatever.
Horses
like,
are so slow.
Is there anything slower than a horse?
Yes. Which I love because it's a fun point to be like, remember that she's from an age where there are literal like airplanes. So just keep that in mind, okay?
It breaks our brain. I like to remind one of our friends all the time that I'm like, this is actually the future. And she's like, please don't say that out loud ever again.
I'm still in denial. I'm just like, no, I don't want to believe it.
Just call it post-apocalyptic. It's easier to digest.
Yeah, it is
familiar.
Actually.
We're familiar with the post-apocalyptic vibe. So.
Yeah. Well, and then Lanfear also like is chasing them down with a horse, and she's like, "I'll just get them in their sleep." And I'm like, "Well, you could have done that in the first place."
I
know.
Why did you ride the horse?
Right.
What was the whole point?
You didn't want to get on that horse. It sounds like you could have just like stayed where you were and then moved, but no, it's okay. And then we cut on over to Elias. Sorry, we call him Elias. We like that.
That
name
was my
better.
bad.
It sounds like it sounds more official. I also think this storyline with Perrin is very funny because Elias is just sitting there being like, I mean, you could become a wolf. And Perrin is like, I happen to love people. And he's like, but like, why would you? You should just become a wolf. We're better than you. And like Elias is doing subterfuge. He kind of hinted to Perrin that he was going to take him back to his friends, but he didn't. He's taking him back to Tuon's mill where they were taken by the Sanchen. And so at that point, Perrin is like, look, we're gonna part ways. And Elias is like, you know, that they're not your pack, including your Two Rivers crew. And it was one of those moments where I was like, well, Perrin is not ready to hear that. If that was going to be your argument, you need to save it for another time.
Well, not to mention his wife.
Yeah.
Like, he was like, not your Two Rivers friends and not your wife. And I'm like, what are like I've got this theory, and I don't know if you guys have ever subscribed to it, but that Layla was a dark friend.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I was like, so the fact that he split her up specifically and looked at him super intensely, I was like, okay, he knows she's a dark friend.
I keep waiting for that reveal, and like when it doesn't come, I'm like, oh, we're just this Perrin is still sad wife. Like, okay, we're fine, but still,
I feel like he's not that sad though. People keep bringing it up, like, oh yeah, you're owned by a wetlander woman, and he's like, oh yeah, I forgot I had this on. Like,
I think this season was him coming, like his final transition out of sad boy Perrin from season one. Like, I think by season 3, we can all be like, okay, he's ready now to get back out there, you know, download the apps.
Swipe right.
Yeah. Oh, poor Perrin, because dating history is not his best strong suit. So they give him a dark friend wife. But so Perrin is like, we're gonna part ways here. He kind of almost threatens Elias, and the wolves kind of go to Elias's side, but Hopper stays with Perrin because Perrin made a friend. So he wants to go after his friends to Falm, but he realizes that Uno wasn't buried, and earlier in the episodes Uno talked about how important it was to be buried, so he wants to give him a proper burial. And so he goes back into the town and he finds Uno in a cage. He goes to break him out with his axe, but an Aiel woman warns him not to, saying that he wouldn't want to be heard. And then suddenly just a weird man appears and he's like, don't get too close to that cage.
I just think a weird man appears. Like, can we just refer to him as a weird man?
A cloaked figure.
A cloaked figure who's not showing any of his underclothes at this point. He's just so weird. Like, if you were sitting there and a weird man just came up and he's like, don't get too close to that cage. I must have ripped a man's arms off. You have to stay here. There's a curfew. I would be like, sir, I don't know who you are. Like,
sir, I am not playing Skyrim right now. What are you talking about?
I'm not doing this. No, thank you.
Did the X-ray on Amazon refer to him as a weird man?
No, I just refer to him as a weird man. I put it in all
amazing.
caps too, but I was just like, he's a weird man. He just shows up.
I love that.
He does give the Aiel woman water for her cage, though, so it shows that he's like a weird, but like maybe trustworthy man? Question mark. And then when like Perrin's kind of like, hey, what'd she do? And he's like, well, she's a stranger and she's an Aiel and she's here, so she's obviously nefarious. And Perrin's kind of like, that doesn't sound right, but okay.
We believe in stranger danger, so we put her in a cage and she has red hair. Like, okay.
The rule is all redheads go in cages. That's just
Makes
the rule.
sense. Okay.
But he does tell Perrin that there's a curfew, so he must stay at the inn for the night. And then he also clocks that Perrin is from Two Rivers, again with exposition where he's like, I recognize that ring's from the Two Rivers. So I'm like, the way people like decide where you live.
Is that from Two Rivers? Do you have a wife at home? Oh, no. Okay.
The Two Rivers makes the best stuff. And by stuff, I mean literally everything. The blankets, woven the best. The blacksmithing, the best. It's so recognizable for some reason.
Especially
by everyone.
Like a tiny town that I always remember in the books. They're just like, they don't even pay their taxes.
Right.
Yeah. They're so small. But in this, they're just master craftsmen. It's amazing. And also, Laura, that does reinforce that this is a weird man. If someone was like, I recognize your ring, it's from the Two Rivers, you would think that was weird. Like,
he's a scholar.
So he also, like, at dinner, he's like, hey, don't help that Aiel woman. Like, don't help her. And then also a dog is obsessed with Perrin, which just makes me laugh. We're just like, oh, Perrin now.
So it's just all canines.
He's got that animal magnetism. I get it.
But then Perrin notices that there are white cloaks around, and then he turns back and the weird man ends up being a white cloak. And so Perrin gets nervous because he has experience with white cloaks, and
he's like, I need my hotel room immediately.
I need to go in and shut the door. And then they're like, sure, thank you, Child Bornhald. So we find out that he is a Bornhald, and I call him Junior Bornhald, or Junior White Cloak. And then the White Cloak says that they pushed out the Sanchen. And then the hotel keeper is like, hey, dude, just swear your oaths to the white cloaks. Like, they're totally fine once you agree with everything they say.
They seem really chill. They're just killing a bunch of people and caging them. It's fine.
And he's like, I mean, but like, don't get too close to the questioners because they're really weird. And Perrin's like, oh, shit, questioners. And he
wait. Didn't he say, you should swear your, or like, didn't he say swearing your oaths to the Shanchan? Isn't that bad?
Oh, I thought it was the white cloaks. I thought it was like swearing your oaths. Oh, okay.
I think he was like kind of annoyed about the white cloaks because they came in to like, quote, save the day when they didn't really need saving because they just swore their oaths and the Shanchan left them alone.
Oh,
I think that's how I remember it.
Okay. No, you are probably right. Like, but also that's very fair because that's the energy of any white cloak. They're always here like, I'm about to save the situation, and everyone's like, nobody asked you to be here. Why are you here
again?
Yeah, exactly. That's them.
We also find out that Valda is there, Perrin's BFF from the previous season.
And they're teasing him hardcore about wolves to the point where I'm like, it's legit trauma. Like,
he was literally attacked by a wolf, and they're just like,
and they're like,
want us to watch out for
those
those
wolf over there. It's like, okay, that's not very nice.
So he's in like a little sling or whatever. And the first time I watched the episode, I was like, oh my gosh, is that still from when the wolves attacked him? But I think it was from Avienda though. So
that's fair. Yeah, he was questioning her.
He's just really milking the wolf injury. Like,
like
it still hasn't healed, you guys.
I was attacked by dark creatures. I mean, they were wolves. Like,
relax. They weren't even that big wolves.
Yeah. No, they do not have the budget to make big wolves.
No.
And so Valda is kind of like, I really want to question the Aiel woman again. Bornhold's like, don't let her out of the cage. It seems like a really bad idea. And they do point out that the strangers are now in Falm. And this is the moment where Junior White Cloak mocks Valda for the wolves. And then we find out that it's Dane Bornhold, and his father is like the leader of the White Cloaks, who I called Daddy White Cloak. So those are their names. I'm so sorry.
And this is the part where Valda's like, your name is Dane Bornhold. We don't care about you. And it's like, oh, okay.
Even if your father is the leader of the White Cloaks, thank you, goodbye.
You, sir, are a Nepo baby. I want everyone to know that.
Yes.
Did the viewers at home hear that?
Yes.
And then we have Varen, who I said is having her murder she wrote moment because she comes into the tower
Yes.
and she's like, "Where's Nynaeve? I haven't seen her yet." And she's just hanging out with her brown sister friends. They're chit-chatting.
Which is one of them from Harry Potter.
Mhm.
I was
Oh,
gonna
is she-
say,
okay.
Jessica.
she looked like Harry's love interest from Order of the
Jo-
Phoenix, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh.
Oh man, you guys are much better with your Harry Potter knowledge.
Yeah, she
Very
played
impressive.
Cho Chang in Harry Potter.
Oh, okay.
Like she is Yasica in the Wheel of Time, which I find to be an absolutely fabulous name.
I do like that
and-
name.
It is
and,
great.
yeah, I really did like her in this episode.
And then Nynaeve, this is also one of my favorite scenes because Nynaeve wakes up at the Waygate and she's like shielded and bounded by Leandrin and she's like trying to fight. She's just like, "How could you do that? You broke the 3 O's." And she's like, "I've broken every one of them many a time." And she's like, "Wait, are you a black friend?" And I'm like, "Nynaeve."
Obviously.
Nynaeve, like, come on, honey.
There's got to be a good reason for her to capture me and like throw me
Right.
against a wall and
She's just
bind
like,
me.
She's just really having a bad day.
Yeah, like, oh my gosh. Are you a black friend? And it's like, what was your first clue? And then Leandra, this is also one of my favorite moments because she's just like, "Do you know why I'm a black friend?" The
Dark
patriarch-
friend.
or
It's
dark
dark
friend.
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 Yeah.
I'm so
Black
sorry.
Asha.
No,
Black
it's-
Asha, dark friend. I'm so sorry. Thank you
it's okay.
for
I had the same instinct. I was like, I'm gonna stop you there. It's
No.
dark friend.
I caught it too the first time. And I was like, she'll get it, and then it just
No,
she never changed.
Nope, I'm never gonna change. I did not write it down, so it's off the cuff, so it's very bad. She is a dark friend. And she's like, "Do you want to know why? Because of the patriarchy. We have to make ourselves less than, and I think that that's bullshit, so that's what we do now." And it's just like, okay, that's
So
fair
you know what I'll
enough, but
do?
also
Like, oppress other women. Because that makes total sense.
yeah.
Not
And
if they swear their oaths to the dark. Like, then she won't oppress them.
Again, everyone's rule is just agree with me, and then I'm a pretty chill person.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
that's all you have to
sure.
do. And she kind of is like, "You'll go over to the dark too one day." And Nynaeve is like, "No, I will not." And she's like, "Well, everyone has their price." And she's like, "No, they do not."
Like she's
Uh,
extremely stubborn. Where have you been the past season? Like
Yeah.
she will not.
And Nynaeve is like, "Do you actually think this is kind of work? Like, is all of this worth it to you? Like, you've kind of lost everything." And that we leave them there. Suroth is kind of pissed because she got her nails cut, and she got blamed for something that Ishi wanted to do. He was the one who wanted to go after Perrin, and she tries to kind of face down Ishi, and she's like, "Look, I'm the one with the power," and he's like, "Well,
LOL.
Yeah,
you?
like, okay.
And he's like, "Well, you're not really, because you went dark for a reason." And he says that the dragon will join them at Falm in Tarman Gaiden, and a gift is coming for her, or Tarman Gaiden. I'm so bad with pronunciations. So Perrin now has to sneak out to get away from Valda, but he is also Perrin, so he must go save the Aiel woman. And he breaks her out, and she reveals her name is Avienda. Which I was not expecting this season until I saw the Aiel, and then I'm like, I bet that's Avienda. Like that has to be.
Yep.
He breaks her out, and Junior Whitecloak shows up.
He's like, step away from her. She's dangerous. 2 rivers.
Also, like all Parrot has heard is like, this woman can really handle herself. She keeps like beating up
And
everyone.
he's like, stay behind me. I'll protect you.
And he's like, "I've got this," and she's like, "No, you don't." Like, have
He's
you
like,
ever?
you don't even have a weapon. Please let me handle this.
The
It's kinda
smirk,
like-
the smirk on her face when he does that, just like the Two
Perfect.
Rivers men are notorious for being like quote chivalrous,
Mhm.
right? And
Mhm.
it just like in some ways completely inappropriate in this universe because the
Mhm.
women, for the most part, have the power. They're the
Mhm.
ones who channel the one power, and in this case, this is a maiden of the spear, an Aiel. Like she could kick your
Yes.
ass. Yeah, but yeah.
I am glad that she's linked up with Perrin though, because he is the one who is the most likely to like learn pretty quick.
Mhm.
Where she's like, "Hey, don't do
Yeah.
that," and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, that's my bad."
Yeah. So true.
Rand would have
Uh,
been like, what? Are you kidding me?
I'm here to protect you. Like, come on.
Perrin is our humble king.
Yes, he is.
More than the other boys for sure.
He's just gonna blush when she makes jokes about sex.
Yeah, which is so cute.
And
that was a great joke, though.
She beats up everyone, and Perrin is just like, okay, but he does stop her from killing Junior, and he's like, look, he gave you water. He's been
Give you a
nice
little
to
sip of
us.
water.
Like,
I got a hotel room. It was good.
He may have stuck you in a cage, but like, could we just agree not to murder this one?
It could have been smaller. Let's.
The
but
cage.
Junior's
Yeah.
also super weirded
Or
out
other
by
things.
Perrin's yellow eyes, and he's like, what are you? And I'm like, Perrin, leaving this man alive is not in your best interest. Like, he does not like you. So Moraine and Ran are back in Kyrian, and she reveals that Lanfear is a master of Tela and Riad, the world of dreams, so they can never go to sleep again, which I also think is a bad strategy.
This is gonna work, you guys. Trust me.
Poor Moraine looks so haggard throughout all of these. I'm like, when did she actually sleep? Because we never like go back to that. We just know that Moraine is never sleeping ever, and that's not a good idea. So Randa's like, can you use the one power to keep us awake? And she's like, no. Then she goes back to her house, and we meet her nephew, Barthanes, who is weirdly obsessed with her in a way that, like, my nephews are never that obsessed with me. Like, they're happy to see me once, and then, like,
it's a
I don't
definite
exist.
red flag.
Just leave for like 20 years and become a legendary Aes Sedai, and then
That's
maybe
true.
your
I'm
nephews
just not,
will like you better.
I'm not trying hard enough to be famous.
Yeah.
He's just like, I brought you a sandwich. Do you like me now? I want to talk to you. Do you like me now? I like you so much.
As a grown man, though, sus. Like, even with the 20-year absence, like, what are you doing, Barthanes?
He just needs to calm down a little bit. And like, his mom is just like, he's just so kind-hearted. Like, he even loves you, Moraine. I hate you, but he is great. We also have Varen doing Murder, She Wrote, where she's looking into, like, where did Elaine, Egwene, and Nynaeve go? Why is no one asking questions? And the Mistress of Novices is like, oh, they got signed out to, like, go hang out at one of Elaine's brother's birthdays. And she's like, oh, that's a weird reason to leave the tower. And she has one of her brown friends come and check the book, and it has a small hesitation, and they think that there is a possibility that the Mistress of Novices was compelled to write it down, and there is Black Aja in the building. And so Varen's like, we must figure out who has left the tower recently.
This is when the other brown sister is like, Black Aja, and she says it in like the most perfect way, or I'm just like, please, I have that be my ringtone.
You had to emphasize how insane it is, you know. There's
this hasn't happened
in the tower.
They've withheld for so long.
How would the audience know that this is like mind-blowing if not for that line?
But Liandrin does take the girls to the Sunchen. They're knocked out when they arrive, and she's just carrying them. She scolds Suroth for what they do. She says that they should respect the one power, and Suroth is like, we do. We just want to control everyone who has it. And she says that they all. I also thought this was like the most flawed logic of two people speaking to each other, where she's like, we just make sure that our women are trained to wield the people who can wield the one power. And it's just like, and Leandrin sitting there doesn't think to say, like, we do train our people. Like, we don't just
let them go.
Leave. Like, they have a pretty strict like rule set on if they can wield the one power.
Like, in fact, the opposite. And their people take oaths. Like, what did Sean do?
And she's just like, one day all of these women will be free. And it's like, well, you had better arguments, Leandrin. Like, make one.
Yeah.
But
no. Absolutely not.
It's Leandrin. She has to go choose. I kept saying that Leandrin just choose the most scenery. I love watching her whenever she's in the background, because she's just sitting there like looking at you like maniacally.
I love Kate Fleetwood, who plays her. Is just like, in the books, Leandrin, I could take her leave. She's kind of annoying. Like, her POVs, whatever. In the show, I love her so much.
I know.
Like, obviously, I hate her, but I love to hate her.
I could honestly watch like a spinoff just of Leandrin, because she's
Black
so
Aja in the city.
Yes. Yes.
Hanging out with all of her Black Aja friends. Like, oh my gosh, she is amazing in the show, and I love her so much. But she does let Nynaeve go when and she kind of wakes them up when the captors come to take them, so they're on a little bit more equal footing. The girls fight.
not super equal.
Not super equal, but a little bit better. She gave them a fighting chance.
I guess.
If only Nynaeve could channel, because anytime Nynaeve's in the room, it's just like, you would be so powerful if you could channel. And she's like, yes, I know. Thank you so much.
Story of her life. If only you could channel.
You would be so pretty if you smiled more. That's pretty much what everyone is saying to her.
Yep. Great, thanks.
So Elaine and Egwene kind of fight using the one power, and the girls run. Egwene is captured. And Nynaeve and Elaine realize that they're in Falm, which I also, Elaine is like, we're in Falm. We are so many thousands of miles away. This is not good. And Nynaeve kind of is like, okay, let's go find Perrin and Loyal. And Elaine is like, could we slow down for 2 minutes when the city is being run rampant with people looking for us? And then they're immediately knocked out by someone. Also, I like the previous 4 episodes. Nynaeve has had such a build-up in character and like such amazing character moments, and I feel like the second Liandrin knocked her out, we've gotten back to a little bit like of a step back, where Nynaeve is sitting there with Elaine and she's like, oh, you just want to go get fancy dresses, when Elaine's like,
yeah,
I kind of just want us to go get disguises. Could we go do that?
I think Nynaeve hasn't really, because we got to see Elaine and Egwene bonding, but basically from Nynaeve's perspective, I mean, this is slightly petty, but like Elaine stole Egwene from her, right? Like they became instant besties, and all she really knows about her is that she's royalty. So I can kind of see Nynaeve being like, you think you're hot shit because you took my friend. But you know, as we see throughout the season, she realizes that there's more to Elaine than just her royalty. So because I don't blame Nynaeve for like her inability to channel and stuff like those setbacks, because she was traumatized AF after episode 3. So
oh no, I don't blame her for that. I think sometimes her line readings with Elaine feel a little off to me, where I'm like, wow, you're reacting very strongly, and I get it from mentioning that she stole Egwene from her makes sense, but sometimes it didn't hit right after we've seen Nynaeve like go through all this trauma to suddenly be like, I don't like this woman at all, and you're just here for fancy clothing. And like, well, you're kind of going off the handle when like, you guys are running from the cops. Like, she's not wrong.
It's like she went through all that trauma, and then they went to making her comedic relief again, you know, because of how testy that she is, which is accurate for the book. She's pretty testy, you know, just as a rule. But yeah, in that moment, you're right that it did feel like, whoa, like chill on this a little bit. It is obviously a pretty serious situation.
And then I like kept having, I would have that moment, and then I'm like, am I actually siding with Elaine? Like, she is royalty. Like,
I know.
Like, don't make me do that.
And that's a hard thing to.
So we also have Avienda and Perrin becoming fast friends. She says he's terrible at dancing the spears, and she scolds him for calling the Threefolds lands the waste. And she says that they live in the Threefolds land to prove themselves and to pay for their sin. And he's like, what's the sin? And she's like, no one remembers. And she says she's down here searching for their Karakarn. And she says that by Perrin saving her, she now has toe for him. And he's like, what's that? And she's like, it's not sexual, I promise.
Let me explain the whole thing so we all know.
You gave me a favor, so I owe you a favor. And he says that they're going to follow him, because she says she must follow him now. Varen asks, I also died at this part, because again, Varen is on her Murder, She Wrote phase, and she like walks up to Liandrin and she's like, you've been gone. And Liandrin is like, yes, I picked this wild asparagus, or I bought this wild asparagus from this one place where you can't get it anywhere else.
This was the most frustrating conversation, because I just so badly wanted Varen to just be like, I'm not fine, just tell me where they are.
It was so I also died at the thought of Liandrin being like, well, I sold the girls to the Sunshine. What is a way that I can prove that I, Liandrin, a very caustic woman, was not there?
I know, vegetables.
Vegetables.
And then the way that she's like, oh, you know what? I did hear of some people being captured just from some guys that I came along, you know, because I'm always chatting it up with random men. Like, what?
Again,
a better cover story.
This is why Leandra needs her own spinoff, so we can find out that she is a great vegetarian who loves to garden.
Oh, Varen was like so not buying that though. You can tell she's like, oh, that only bloom or only grow during this time of year. Convenient.
Yeah, convenient. You had to go to one location.
Yeah.
And so yes, Leandra says that the girls probably got waylaid by bandits on the way to Camelin. And Varen is just kind of looking at her like, I guess I'll have to go tell. I also
sounds fake, but okay.
Leandra literally like shoos her after giving her the worst alibi in the world, where she's like, go quick, tell the keeper, like you must go. Maureen has a moment with her sister Elvira where her sister comes in to talk to her and she's like, will you tell me what's going on? And Maureen is like, I am so tired. Like, I'm exhausted.
Leave me alone. This sucks.
And then Elvira was like, my sister taught me some good knowledge, and she taught me that like sometimes you have to make the right choice, and sometimes the right choice isn't what you think it's going to be, and you have to ask yourself if the right choice is actually true. And she also asks if Rand is like needing Maureen's protection, and they're planning to run, but all of a sudden Maureen is like, I think we can stay. I think we can send you to sleep to talk to Lanfear, because she's going to want to talk to you and help you. And we also have a moment between Ishi and Lanfear where Lanfear is looking like, is she dressed up as Ishmael or
no, she looks like Rand.
She looks like Rand, and she's sleeping, and Ishi's touching sleeping. Her.
And he's like stroking her face, and he's like, you always know how to get me. Like, really? That's it.
These three have quite the dynamic.
Yeah.
It is a very weird dynamic when you find out that they were all just besties for a really long time. But
it's more confusing when it's like, this isn't Luz. There.
Yeah,
like, this is a different person, so that's how we get to you, is through looking like this new dragon. I'm confused.
They're very accepting of reincarnation, Laura. They're like, this is just Luz now. I guess this is who we have now. But she's just kind of waiting around for Rand hanging out in Tela Unriad, and they toast to the future for the great Lord's victory, and how they kind of talk about how the Forsaken get a bad rap. And
they're like, we are yin and yang. Although their heads together, like,
well, and then
doesn't she say like, aren't you afraid that I'll betray you or whatever? And he's like, well, will you? And she's like, obviously.
Yeah,
she's like, probably.
And they chuckle about it and have drinks.
And then he's like, do you know why the Dark Lord released me? It's because I actually believe in him, and all you other assholes are self-serving. And she's like, well, then why did you release me? And he's like, because you're self-serving about your boyfriend, and so I can control you through your boyfriend. Then he does mention that like he can turn the others to the dark to break Rand, and that Matt was born as his, which I thought was an interesting line.
Mm-hmm.
And Perrin will soon be more wolf than man. And so we also have a revelation that Elaine and Nynaeve were saved by the Yellow Aja. And we also have Ishi giving a gift to Turok of Egwene. And during this time, the Yellow Aja is telling the girls what happens to women who can channel, and they chain Egwene with a system that makes it so she cannot channel, and it brings her pain. So that will happen in the next episode, which is a big old bummer of an episode.
Big old bummer. Crazy
terrible
bummer.
Laura warned me not to watch it when I was going through a stressful time, and she was like, hey, don't watch episode 6. You're good for a while. You don't need it. It's fine.
Take a break. Come back when you're ready.
Sage advice. It was a lot.
But we do have Rand going to sleep with Moraine, warning him to not trust Lanfear too much. But Lanfear does love the Dragon Reborn, likely, and he loved her before he met his wife, which is also just a bummer of a thing to learn. Like, look, she really loved the Dragon Reborn, and he loved her too, until he met someone new, and then she was kind of old news.
Oh. And does it kind of explain a little bit of like Lanfear's like attachment issues though, where she's like, I must hunt him down before he sees somebody else. Like,
if he sees another woman, he will forget about me.
Like, I need to get back with him now.
Also,
poor girl.
I feel bad because like Lanfear is the first female Forsaken we're meeting, and they're like, you know what turned her to the dark? Her ex. And I'm like, well, that's kind of like
that's what did it for me too. That's weird.
It's a
But-
classic.
Oh God. But he goes to sleep and he wakes up tied to a wheel with land fear. And then that's the end of episode 5. Sorry I'm taking so long. I'll try to go faster. Because I'm going to skip over a lot of the horrifying scenes of Egwene getting tortured in episode 6.
Mhm.
So Egwene is dragged into a dungeon. She goes to fight, but she is hurt back when she tries to punch the woman who's there. She meets what is known as her keeper or her Suldam, called Rena, and Rena is just kind of plot devising like, hey, if you try to hit me, you will feel pain twice over, even to death. If I die, you die. You can't remove the Adom that is around you. That's what it's called. And I control you through it, and you cannot make any weaves unless I let you. And
I
then
can't use any weapons against her or anything.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I will say though that this actress that plays Rena is horrible, but at the same time, this
Chilling.
was so well acted that I was just like, ugh. Anytime that she was on the screen, I was just
I believe
completely
they
focused.
go by they, I think.
Oh, they.
Oh,
Just
thank you.
so
FYI.
sorry.
No problem.
Thank you.
Thank you. We always love being corrected on pronouns to make sure that they are accurate. So, but Rena in the show is telling Egwene that they can be friends, but also I'll hurt you until you tell me your name. So you must tell me your name.
Mhm.
And this in this episode is a huge back and forth on what it's like to live in oppressive societies where it's like, oh, I don't see you as a person. You are not a person. So therefore hurting you is not anything to me because you are less than me. But
Mhm.
also like we can be friends as again, and the theme of the show a lot of the times, we can be friends as long as you totally buy into what I'm telling you, and as long
Mhm.
as you understand that I am totally in control of everything you do, and I will make you feel pain if necessary. And that
It's like it's like a dog trainer, right? It's
Mhm.
like it's
Yeah.
basically, you can be Soldom's best friend, or I'll put the shot collar on you, essentially.
Well, and
Mhm.
there are moments where she literally pets Egwene, and she has moments where she's like, I'm being so nice to you by letting you keep your name. And
Mhm.
there's a moment where we find out, and this is a huge moment in this throughout the episode, of Egwene cannot touch a pitcher of water until she does not see it as a
Mhm.
weapon to use against Rena, because she will be hurt. Egwene is beaten and battered throughout the episode. And there's a moment where Egwene finds comfort by looking out at a tree at night, and Brenna wants to show Egwene how powerful she is and how much of a beautiful thing that is, and she does that by ruining the one thing that brings
Mhm.
Egwene comfort. And she thinks that it's almost beautiful because she's like, look, we ruined the beautiful tree that gave you comfort, and that should give you comfort because you're powerful now, and I see that in you.
And it's not even just like she ruins it; she makes Egwene
Yeah.
ruin it, which is
Yep.
adding insult to injury.
Yep. And there's also moments of like Egwene, when they have this moment where Egwene finally hears from someone like, oh, you're so powerful, I hope your tower knew that about you. And that is what Egwene wanted to hear all
Yeah.
season.
Mhm.
And it breaks her on the inside. And like the actress who does this is also beautiful because she has so much emotion
Madeline
going over her
Mann.
face.
Yeah.
And it's pretty upsetting throughout it. And then after they burn down the tree and Rena thinks that Egwene could have had like this breakthrough moment, she goes to touch the pitcher and it harms her again, and then Rena beats her very badly. That shows like just the fullest extent of how she sees Egwene, and it's pretty upsetting. So
She throws a tantrum. She's just she's the worst.
yeah. Yeah, it's pretty harsh. And so we have other things going on throughout the episode. We have Ran and Tella Anrad. Lanfear is amazing in these scenes. Her dress, her outfit, everything about her crown, beautiful. And she's like, well, it took you long enough to get here. And then
I think it's finally. That's the first thing we hear from her.
And she kind of asks him what he wants from all this. She finally lets him out of the wheel contraption when he's like,
she's like, why don't you? Yeah, because she says, why don't you trust me? And he's like, how can I trust you? Like, I'm tied up.
And she's kind of like, look, I protect you from Ishi all the time. And I also love this because she's like, you should not push me away. You push people away a lot. And he's like, of course I'm pushing you away. You're a Forsaken. And she's like, but you also do it to your friends, Rand, and that's not good. And she says that, like, by pushing others away, it's now like easier for his friends to go to the dark. And she's like, you never know what's going to turn people. I went to the dark once. And she
could happen to anybody.
Yeah, it could happen to anyone. I was so great until you broke up with me. How dare you? She also warns Rand that like Moiraine is still a puppet master. She's the one who brought Logain to Cairhien because that's where Moiraine holds power. And he's like, well, can you help me? And she says she will work with him under one condition. And we find out that her condition is he has to leave Moiraine and never be near her ever again, or else she will kill Moiraine. And
seems like a weird condition, but okay.
Also, Rand is so reactionary where he's just like, I have to leave immediately. And she's like, can we talk about this for 5 seconds? And he's like, absolutely not. And he just like bolts out the door. And I also like this moment because he goes, did you put Logain here on purpose? And she's like, yeah, obviously.
Obviously. I control everything. Like, just know that, and going forward, things will make more sense.
You didn't want to go to the White Tower. I brought him to my neck of the woods. What did you think was happening? And he's like, you are a puppet master. I am mad about this.
I feel like sometimes he relies too much on like, it's all a coincidence. And it's like, no, it couldn't be, Rand.
Yeah, he's Rand. I will go back to in the previous episodes where he's like listening to Lanfear describe her boyfriend, and he's like, he sounds kind of boring. And I'm like, lots of people agree. We also have Matt and Min partying it up in Cairhien. She says that it's a mistake that they're there. She's feeling pretty guilty about bringing him here to his doom. And then we also have Nynaeve over in Falm with the Yellow Aja and Elaine and Nynaeve are constantly yelling at each other. And Elaine also doesn't know Nynaeve, so she does the worst thing, which is tell Nynaeve something that she's already beating herself up about, where she's like, look, this is your fault, we're here. And Nynaeve is like, I am well aware, that is why I'm acting like this.
I lash out, okay? That's just like, it's like I'm Ken, my job is Beach. It's like, I'm Nynaeve. Yep, my job is lash out.
Yes, that is what she does. So we also meet the Yellow Aja woman who kept them there last night, Rema. And they reveal to her that Leandrin is a dark friend. And she's like, oh my gosh, she's Black Aja. And after this,
one more time, everyone, focus up. Black Aja.
Black Aja. Bad. It's really bad. I also love this because in this episode, she's like, I'm going to send you guys on a ship because I cannot trust this in a letter to the tower. And they're both like, but we can't leave without Egwene. And she's like, I don't think you guys understand what's most important. They're like, friendship is most important.
I think that's kind of the theme of the season, where it's just like, you know what's going on? Everyone's still friends. We're all still friends.
It's not the battles we overcame, it's the friendships we made along the way.
It's the friends we made along the way.
True. We also, this is an episode where Liandrin goes to see her son, and this show makes me care about Liandrin, the Black Aja, that we keep getting reminded of, because Lanfear comes in and kills her son because it's the one thing that holds her back. We also find out a little bit about Liandrin's backstory. She was forced to be pretty much a child bride from the sounds of it. And that is why she has her son, not because she wanted to be with a man, but because of patriarchy. So that is why she hates it. Before she was an Aes Sedai. We also have a very weird moment with Loyal in this episode, where Suroth forces him to sing to the trees to show off the Ogier's powers with...
that was weird? It was so
no,
cool.
no. Oh, no, sorry. I thought it was a very cool moment.
Well, it was weird how they were like, sing, we're all going to laugh at you.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Okay, like... why make him sing then?
Yeah, well, and then I did love this moment. I was more talking about Suroth's reaction, because she has a moment where she gets unsettled, and you can tell she doesn't quite understand that power, so she shuts down really quickly after seeing it.
It's like, and I think she saw how everyone else was reacting to it. Everyone's like laughing, like, ha ha ha, look at this clown, and then it's like a really beautiful thing that they all witness, and they kind of all have this like look of awe on their face, and then she's like, oh shit, like, I didn't mean for that to be what happened. I wanted to make fun of this guy, and you guys all like him now. Like,
I'm the bad guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and I think that also goes to like a lot of the Senshin is about oppression. Like, we will make you all heal. And so like to her, it was like, I can show my power by making him do this. But like, he has that power, they cannot control it. And so I do think
Mhm.
like that unsettled her as well, to see this kind of power be used that wasn't something that they knew and understood, and it wasn't a full out known thing.
I was really hoping that he would tree sing to the tree that Egwene was forced to burn as like
That
as
would
like
have
a,
been
wouldn't
so
that have been
beautiful.
nice? But
Ugh.
no time. We need more time, more episodes, more time.
Honestly, they need to give Loyal a little more. Like, we didn't
Uh,
get enough in the books. We need more in the show. Because
Yeah.
we just
He's a
give him-
favorite.
And
Mhm.
he's like, and like the final episode, he gives a random speech to 3 Aiel women who he just met, and I'm like, to them, he's just some Ogier. Like they don't know what he's doing here. So we also find out that Ingtar tells Loyal that the horn is just randomly in a room, and he's like, yeah, everyone has too much honor to steal from Two Rocks, so like we could just go get it and get out. And Loyal's like, we can't leave Egwene. She's in the kennels. It's not good. And then we have Min sleeping. She sees Ishi, and he has promised to remove her curse if she can get Matt to leave with Rand. And she knows what will happen because of what she saw with Matt killing Rand. So
This scene made me so mad, by the way. Like the fact that she, like, we find out that, I think this was the first time we find out that Min is like, well, I guess we found out that she was in with Leandrin, but I didn't realize like how in she was with the big bads, right? Like if Ishi's visiting her in her dreams, it's serious. So yeah, there's lots of people talking about Min being a dark friend, which I don't think is the case, but
I don't think Min is a dark friend, but I can
so
definitely see a situation where somebody's just like desperate to get rid of something like that, so they're willing to make deals that are less than
make a deal with the devil.
nice. Yeah.
Well, I also think that like I think it's kind of on the episodes that she's not a dark friend, because she has a moment where she was like, look, I made a deal with Leandrin. I did not make a deal with like a Forsaken. And when she finds out he's a Forsaken, she tries to get out of it immediately.
Yeah.
And he's kind of like, well, you're too far gone. There's no going back from this. Like, you're already this far. Why don't you just do this one more thing? And then you will be like, your suffering will end. And that's like a whole point of him, is like, she wants people's suffering to end. He wants the world to break. And so I thought it actually made sense that she's not a dark friend, but it shows how people can turn and do things that they didn't realize how bad it was going to be until afterwards. And I like that they had that with Min's character, because in the book, she had a lot of buildup and not a lot of payoff.
Yeah. Agreed. Early booksman to me was like way better than late booksman. And this, you know, and this having a darker backstory in the show, like a lot of the characters have a more full backstory. Like Matt has a darker backstory in the show. I think it adds depth and interest. So I'm into it. Of course, though, when I saw it, I was like, what? But it's okay. Like, it's entertaining. So
well, and like this show goes darker on a lot of things. Like, it shows why she wants to get rid of this gift, like why it was so terrible for her, why it feels like a curse. And also why she loves Matt so much. I loved that his character is someone who doesn't want to know his future, and she was like so drawn to that. So their friendship is
they're a cool pairing, though. I really like that.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, they're really good together, and the actors, I feel like just kind of bounce off each other really naturally.
Do. Yeah. We also have like Alana traveling with her polyamorous couple that I love, or throuple that I love so much. It's showing the best of Robert Jordan's plan for polyamory in the books that never paid off. I'm like, nope, they're perfect. No notes. So they're also talking about the Forsaken, the possibility that Lanfear is here. And they think that Lan might be a dark friend because he has stuff on Lanfear and he's been acting pretty shady. And they're like, so what's going on? Like, do we have to kill you?
Mess up. Okay, we're around some Forsaken statues. Like, tell us.
We took you to a very menacing location. We tricked you into thinking we're having sex in a tent, and we weren't. So surprise.
Also, like, just having my book knowledge, of course, I'm just like, you try and take Al Lan Mandragoran. Like, yeah, I guess with the Alana, maybe, but like the Warders.
I know. I feel like it's TV show Lan who doesn't have his bond. He doesn't have his person right now. He's just true. I'm not feeling it. So, and he's like, look, I found the Dragon Reborn, because this is where Lan turns into a little bit of an arc for about an episode and
Snitches get stitches, Lan. What are you doing?
When he first started this, I was like, what is happening? Is he really just laying this all out? What?
he's apparently Lan is a terrible secret keeper. Who
Yeah.
knew?
I mean, though, like, let's be fair, Moraine threw him away like a piece of trash.
That's true.
So,
She did.
like,
yeah, he is literally worried about her mental health. He just keeps hearing about how everyone wants to die once they become stilled. So he's like, maybe
Nobody
she's
makes
being
it past a year. And he's like,
yeah, yeah.
Rand is also dreaming of murdering everyone. During this, we see a scene of him with one of Matt's eyes removed. And Ishii is like, this is where you're heading if you keep going down this. And then Lanfear comes in, and this is where she's like, Ishii, you shouldn't be here. What are you doing in this dream? Get out of here.
she's amazing.
I know. Every line. I don't think she misses a single time, like, with her
No.
delivery.
And the way they did her costuming was just like a 10 out
The
of 10.
slick back hair and
Yeah.
the outfit's
So good.
awesome.
Again,
Yeah.
once she got rid of her hood,
Yeah.
Hashtag Team Hood.
Hashtag Team Hood. And so she asks Rand if there's anyone he would like to see. He says he wants to see Egwene, of course, because he loves her so much. And Lanfear takes this better than I thought she would. I thought she would have thrown a fit.
She kind of twitched, like, you
Yeah.
can tell. She's like, "Is there anyone you would want to see?" And I was watching her, and she was literally like, her eyes just kind of like did this thing.
Mhm.
She hated it. You could tell.
And she's like, well, Ishii has her. And so he says that he will do anything to get her back. And that just is also terrible. We also find out that Egwene did see Rand in her dreams when she woke up, and she remembers that. She also does hear someone through the wall during this episode, and they're saying the precepts of the Demani. And Egwene tries to talk to the woman, and she will not respond. So we also find out that Moraine in this episode is trying to tell the Emerlin what happened to her through a note. She can't seem to do it. Again, her nephew comes in and can't take a hint. And he's like, remember when you loved my sandwiches? And made
Random thing. Like,
I also just hate that they made Rosamund Pike say in a later part of the episode, you made great and still make great sandwiches. And I was like, why did we make her
why is
say
that his thing? Why?
Hey, you know she's not lying though. So,
Yeah,
you know,
oh my
important.
gosh.
Those sandwiches must be pretty good.
She's like a sandwich artist before the.
He butters both sides of the bread, guys.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which
But-
is what you want in a sandwich.
That's fair. Swan is stopped in a carriage as she's like writing notes, and she makes ice picks that are in the shape of the crown for weapons, or it's not ice picks, but it's like weaves.
It's the weaves.
Yeah, but they look like ice picks. But
Fun
it's
cool,
actually
though.
one of the Wheel of Time books is called Crown of Swords. So,
Oh,
hey.
lapping us on the Wheel of Time knowledge every time. But it is Lan coming to tell her about Moraine and how she's being self-destructive. And she's like, hey, guess what? She's been stilled for like a really, really long time. And again, stitches get snitches, or snitches get stitches. I've been talking too much. So Logain talks to Rand again, where Rand's like, I want to know how to fight Aes Sedai. And Logain is like, I did this all on my own. You have to learn by yourself as well. And Rand tells him that he wants his life to matter, doesn't he? And Rand starts showing him how powerful he is, but he also gets sick. And Logain is like, you're very powerful. Believe in yourself. Then Rand...
I'm a little confused, like, why everyone thinks that Logain should care about Rand. They're all like, you know what, you need to be the teacher and you need to care. And it's just like, but why should he? You've done terrible things to him and imprisoned him. Why should he like help you guys out?
Everyone always dangles like your freedom, you know.
Yeah.
I'll bring you that wine you wanted. Like everyone's like dangling, and Moraine is like, I'll give you the thing that you can, you know,
kill yourself
with.
Yeah.
So yeah, I to me, it's generally it feels like people are trying to incentivize him in some way or another, not just for the greater good. But
he always has the rug pulled out from under him.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's just like, I don't know why you would try to care. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, and they're always like, remember when you were mad and we were trying to kill you and then you killed everyone else? And he's like, it feels like it was retaliatory at that point. Like,
Yeah.
like, okay. But we also have a moment where Rand is reunited with Matt.
I loved that part.
They're
That
so
made me
excited
cry a
to
little bit.
They're so excited to see with one another. They're so very cute. And Matt makes fun of Rand's hair. It's like a perfect
Yeah.
meeting between the two of them.
Mhm.
It's so great. And then at that time, like he and Matt kind of debrief. He tells him that he has to go after Egwene, and he asks Matt to join him. We also see Elaine and Egwene and Rena. Or not Rena, sorry, Rima, and they're trying to test out one of the leashes, and they're trying to figure out what it is. They realize it's a Terra Angreal, like the arches. And we also find out during this time that 2 Aes Sedai have already been lost to the Sunchen, and the sitter of the Blue Aja was captured. So, and during this time, they're kind of trying to be very limited in how much they can channel, because the Sunchen women can, or the Damane can sense when women channel, and so they have to be very careful. And then at some point they ask Nynaeve for help. Nynaeve has block, and Rima has a perfect point of do or do not, there is no try moment.
Yeah.
And then Nynaeve overuses it. Rima and her warder kind of sacrifice themselves so the girls can stay safe. And during that time, Rima's warder is killed, and Rima is captured with a collar.
This was crushing because she wanted her warder to kill her before they would take her, and then they kill the warder, and it's
it was so brutal, so brutal.
The screaming, oh my gosh, it was awful.
But also so cool to see the fact that she's yellow Aja, and if you're not familiar, that's the healing Aja, and so you could tell in the way that she fought that that's what she was, because she was literally like breaking spines, like breaking bones, all instead of throwing fireballs like Moraine might. She was doing surgical things to brutalize these women, and she was going for the soul dom instead of the Damani, which I found interesting because she knew who the captors were. So this scene was also another example, or this showed the progression of Nynaeve and Elaine's relationship, because like Elaine was like, if we go out there, like Egwene is dead, like we have, and eventually they were like holding hands, and you could tell that Nynaeve was gaining some respect for Elaine in that scene.
Well, and
just the fact that she listens to her,
her mouth, like she at one point, like Elaine covers Nynaeve's mouth to be like, you can cry but you cannot make a sound. We also have Matt. He's going to say goodbye to Min because he plans to go out with Rand, and he finds her drunk, and she tells him that he will kill Rand, and he's not pleased. He's like, how do you know who Rand is? How do you know what he looks like? She admits that she was supposed to bring Matt there for Ishii, and he is crushed by this. It's a very sad moment because I really like their friendship. Moraine sends a letter for the Blue Aja. So this is the letter probably being sent to the Amerlin seat to tell her what's happening, or the Amerlin. I don't know why I always call it the Amerlin seat. She goes to say goodbye to Barthanes, and then all of a sudden we find out that the Amerlin is there demanding an audience with Moraine and 14 sisters. And then she's like coming out. I love Swan in this. She's being so elegant. And again, Leandrin is just chewing the scenery and walking around and being like, why are we all here?
So weird.
And Rand is waiting for Matt, and then he decides he's going to go off on his own. But then Lan shows up and he stops him with Alana and her warders. And then we end with Egwene being told by Rena that she will never leave, and the pitcher will never be a weapon. And she is finally able to pick up the pitcher and pour a glass of water for Rena. And Rena pours it on the ground, which is also just like heartbreaking.
Insulting. Yeah.
Especially
because Egwene couldn't drink any water that whole time. She was literally going thirsty for days. And then Rena dumps it on the ground.
And then she calls her a good girl and leaves. And then Egwene drinks water. She just chugs it all down. She's incredibly broken, and she starts to wail. And the woman next door tries to comfort her, saying she was the sitter of the Blue Aja and she didn't last that long.
What I find so interesting about this particular episode, which I thought was maybe the strongest episode in the season, maybe.
Absolutely.
But the pitcher being a centerpiece for the entire episode is so interesting, because it was literally like one line in the books. Basically, Egwene is like, I thought of a pitch. I thought about hitting her with a pitcher, and then I couldn't for 3 days or something like that. And then we move on. But then instead, the showrunners, the writers are like, no, this is going to be the way we illustrate how absolutely terrible it is to be a Damani and how
Mhm.
terrible the Soldom are and the mind games that are played. And yeah, I loved that choice. I think it made for a really amazing episode. And then having Egwene's battle with Rena, like the Battle of the Wills, paralleled with Rima's battle against
Yeah.
the Shan-Chan and losing her warder and getting collared. It was just incredibly emotional.
Oh, yeah.
It was a lot.
This was a rough episode, and they do not hold back on like
Mm-mm.
how Egwene looks. They don't hold back on so many moments, like the moment.
Yeah,
where
like the costuming and makeup, like A+, because
Mhm.
some of the scenes were rough.
And then you have the moment where Egwene is like, I just don't understand how you could do this to a woman. I don't understand how you can call her.
Mhm.
And Rena goes, "Oh, you poor person. You think you're a
You
woman?"
think you're a
And I
woman.
was just like, my like stomach dropped in that moment because it's just
Mhm.
it's so well done. And
Really, because my blood was boiling.
Yeah.
Like every time she like, oh God, Rena drives me nuts. The way she
Yeah.
says Egwene, and she's like, I don't know, she's like,
we'll let you keep your name. I think we'll let you keep your name. And it's like, oh,
And it's
voice. Yeah.
It's so funny because I feel like in the books, like I can't remember the audiobooks all that well, but I feel like they almost made her like high pitched and like a little bit like, oh,
yeah.
And
Yeah,
so
it
the
was
change
almost
to
a little
the
more
Rena,
like an
classic
umbrage
villain. Yeah.
yeah.
And so this one was like much more horrifying every time. Yeah. So
And even like the introduction of Rena, where we get her saying to Egwene, like, a lot of people don't think that you can be friends with your Damani, but I'm here to prove that that's wrong. And it's like, this is your idea of friendship? What? And it's just like, oh.
well, it's again, it's
sickening.
a pet. Like she's like,
It's
oh yeah,
sickening.
I love my dog. My dog is my person. Like, and it's like, well, nope, they're still your dog. So
she is so twisted. She's such a good villain. Like it's she just drives me absolutely. She's a different kind of villain too, because it's just like insidious. Like they all have their own thing, but she is just like it. Ironically, inhuman in the way that she behaves.
Yeah,
it's true. Well, we get to the penultimate episode, and it starts with 20 years before, where they're celebrating the end of the war. Moiraine and Swan are together, and they're adorable, and they're getting ready to go to Cairhien.
They were so sweet. I loved this.
And they're just like making
fabulously de-aged, by the way.
Oh, I know,
like,
right?
Holy hell!
Disney needs to take some notes.
I know.
My gosh.
Seamless. I was literally like, okay, trying to look like, did they CGI this, or are they just like, did they just do their makeup different? Like, I
will say that I think that these two just look really good.
Honestly,
Honestly, so it probably wasn't a ton of work, but
they luckily have two fantastic actresses who you're looking at them and you're like, oh my God, I want to be you.
They're already gorgeous. So
I was thinking that, especially when they did the flashback later in the episode where it's like the two of them in like this dark area, like as they are now towards who they were. And I was like, wow, the de-aging was fabulous.
Yeah.
It was distractingly good.
Yeah. It was really good.
Well, and they do such a good job at this like prologue pretty much where Swan is like, well, I don't want to be in the tower forever. I want us to retire. I want us to have a life. I can't wait for like the rest of our life to start. And then they go in to see a blue sister, Katara, to tell her that the war is over. And she immediately has a vision that the dragon has been reborn on the mount in the snow and cries like thunder and burns like the sun. And I feel like this is mean to do to people. I understand why she had to, but she goes, tell no one. And I'm like, well, that's the worst thing
I know.
to do to a person. It's like, I have the biggest secret. You can't tell anyone about it. And she says,
I did like getting the flashbacks though from that episode in season 1, because I thought that was such an amazing episode. Like I loved that whole fight scene and Rand's birth. That was amazing. So I was like, ooh, I almost would have liked to watch that again, but okay.
Yeah, we can just watch the whole thing. We can just have the voiceover while we're watching it. Like, because that was my favorite scene from season 1. I thought it was just
so good,
spectacular, and it was nice to see it again.
It was very good. I liked that cutting back because it kind of just shows that we are tying in season 1 to season 2, because they do feel like a little bit different from one another, but it's the same storytelling. So, and then we like kind of flash forward to Swan waiting for Moiraine. She's pissed that Moiraine didn't tell her that she'd been stilled. Also, I don't know. I can't remember in the books. Was Liani always a stone cold bitch? Because she is in like all of these episodes.
Yeah. So Liana is I remember that like before, and she changes throughout the book series. Yeah. That's fair. She's pretty stern at first.
I couldn't remember if she was the stern at first because I was reading it and I was like, damn, girl, like you're frosty. Like
She's a little frosty.
She's really got a mean look on her face. I will say that.
Oh yeah, she looks gorgeous. Like she's amazing. I
Oh,
love
this is- I'm
her,
not-
but
This is a beautiful person,
Yeah,
but
this is a
she
beautiful
looks
person.
furious.
Yeah,
Although
she
her
looks-
like this wasn't in these episodes, but her conversation with Leandrin when she's
Yeah.
like, I talk
Yes.
to the Amerlin every day because now I am the Amerlin.
Yes.
Like, okay.
She just is just like so hardcore where I'm like,
Yeah,
wow,
little,
you are
little snarky.
a lot.
Yeah.
So like she's standing there and Swan's like, you can leave. But she tells Maureen that Maureen threatened she's done like way too much. She lists things like threatening to give Lon to Alana without permission. And he told her, about finding the dragon. So now Alana knows. And she says she let Maureen have too much power for this. And she's like, now I will be beside you. And Maureen's like, I didn't want that. No, thank you. Don't do this. And then we cut on over to Lon, who is kind of like walking Rand through how to talk to the Amerlin. And he asks if Rand ran because he was scared. And Rand was like, to protect the people I love. And Lan is like, well, that's stupid. You protect everyone. You have a greater purpose. You can't do that. And he tells that Rand to face things on his feet. And Lan learns that Rand has been learning sword forms, and he tells him which one to start
in the most
using.
hilarious way too, because Rand's like, I'm gonna use my sword against the Amerlin, and Lon's like, you
No, you're not.
don't need to use that sword. Like, she's not gonna let you use a sword.
This
He's
was
like,
honestly,
"You
this
can
was
keep it."
honest. Oh, sorry. This
No.
was just so a scene like this happens in book 2, and it's like one of my favorite scenes. And
Mhm.
so I was waiting this whole time for Lan to like mentor Rand in this way.
Mhm.
And obviously in the books, in that context, it's also him training him in the sword.
Mhm.
But in this, it's just like what are we gonna do whenever you see the Amerlin? And so I was so ready for this, and I was so happy when it happened.
It was a good scene. I like those two together. I think they
Me
have like
too.
good energy together.
I need more of it. More of
I'm
it.
sure. I think you're about to get it. So,
Yeah.
Rand goes to Swan. She notes that Lan prepared him. And he's like, yes, he says that you aren't always what you seem. And she's like, most people aren't. And she's like, most people guard themselves. Come on, kid. She tells him to answer all her questions truthfully. And he's like, okay, but what happens after that? Matt is kind of matting around at the beginning of this episode.
Yeah,
then
doing his thing.
He's just doing his thing. And then he's kidnapped and immediately taken to Falm with Lanfear. He doesn't know who she is. He is in the room with all the seals, though, because we have been seeing them throughout the episodes. So he wonders if he's dreaming. He's very much awake. Elaine and Nynaeve are walking through the streets, hiding. Elaine is like, why don't the Falma people, why aren't they fighting back? And Nynaeve like wants to immediately go and break Egwene out of jail. And Elaine is like, that's a terrible idea. Why don't we go
Elaine's
talk
like,
to someone?
Hold on. Like, easy. Chill
No.
out. Yeah.
We
And
are
she's
two
like-
people.
She's like, you cannot channel. I am fine.
Drink a 7-Up, eat a moon pie.
Eat a Snickers. You're not
Yeah,
you when you're
yeah.
hungry. And she's like, let's go find your Ogier friend. Egwene is with Rena, showing off their powers with like all the new initiates. Rena is super happy because Egwene is able to blow everyone down, and they feel it all through the town. So that's kind of going on. Varen is Varening around as well. Matt is matting. Varen is Varening. She got an Ogier map from one of her brown sisters. And Ingtar doesn't trust Varen or Tomas, so he wants to go follow Tomas, Varen's warder. Alana is like, nope, we're not going to separate. Lanfear is like in the city right now. Let's not separate. And the boys vote against her. And
Which I
Ingtar-
kind
What a
of
dumb
appreciate.
decision.
It was dumb,
Yeah.
but like I was like, wow, it's a democracy,
It
not
is.
not a dictatorship. So good for
Again,
them.
they're showing off a healthy polyamorous relationship, and I
Mhm.
really, really appreciate that in this episode. But then her other porter is more worried about Leandrin and where she went to, and she's actually meeting with Moraine's nephew.
Mm.
Dun dun dun. Lan and Moraine meet, and he's like He's like, I'm just trying to get the spark that we had back. And she's like, are you
Oh.
kidding me? You told everyone all of my secrets.
Hey, Mr. Big Mouth, we have a problem.
And then he immediately pivots to a much more chill conversation of like, have you ever felt suicidal, Maureen? And she's like, are you kidding me right now? And she's like, no, I haven't, because I care most about Rand, and like I need to make sure he's never put in jeopardy. And he's like, well, you have to trust someone. We also find out that like Rand pretty much thinks that the Amerlin is there to gentle him, and she's like, oh no, we're just gonna cage you.
We need you to be our weapon.
Yeah, like you're a weapon, you're not a general. We're just gonna cage you until the final battle, and then we're gonna trot you out like a cannon and use you then. And she he goes to use his power on her, and she shields him, and she's like, wow, you have learned nothing. Maureen has done nothing. You were supposed to be learning what the heck happened. And I love this line where she goes, it would have been so much better if you were a girl.
Well, and honestly, then the cutaway is perfect, because then they go to super powerful Egwene.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really well done.
I think that was the showrunners just being like, you know, everyone, whenever we initially said that the dragon could be a girl and you freaked out, like, it would have been better anyway.
It would have been so much easier. Come on, people. Exactly. Loyal meets up with Nynaeve, and he's like super excited to meet Elaine, and Nynaeve is like, don't give her a bigger head.
Don't encourage her. So good.
Elaine asks about Egwene. He tells her, you know, they do a little shindig and they're just talking about what they need to do. I like this moment because they're kind of figuring out how to get Egwene out, and Nynaeve is quick to be like, Loyal, I'm getting you two. Like, you're coming with us. This is not going to happen. We also have Matt talking to Ishii for the first time, and Ishii's just sitting there whittling. And he's just talking to him like, I just want to make sure that we end pain and suffering. And Matt goes, is this a sex thing or a murder thing? Because like either way, could you stop talking?
I love Matt so much, and I feel like I would have loved to have even more of him, but every time we got to see him this season, he was excellent.
You know, I can't wait for more and more of him, because I do feel like we got cheated a little bit with the change in actors, where like we only got to see him interact with characters in like the final couple episodes.
I will say, in my mind, I feel like new Matt fits what I was picturing more.
Yes. That's fair.
I think that's totally fair.
He does get a tea from Ishii that is said to show him all of his past lives. And
wait exactly 15 minutes.
Really is. Wait exactly 15 minutes. I will turn this over. And he's like, you know, the last time I did this for myself, it was the first time I slept through the night. And I'm like, maybe don't trust the creepy.
I said, like, that is really disturbing. If whatever you saw made you sleep through the night.
I said, excuse me, Matt, never take a drink you didn't make yourself. Have you never been to a frat party?
Obviously not.
But he's a dude, though. You know, dudes are gonna dude. No sense of self-preservation.
Right?
And he does end up taking the tea, and he goes on a pretty bad trip where he sees his mother saying, you're just like him. And it's very upsetting. He sees himself hanging in the mirror, which is a call to some of the books. And then he sees himself killing many people and going a bit mad. And there's like a weird moment where he's hugging himself and going, you're just like him. And then he screams, and it's very unsettling. So we also have Perrin and Aviendha, who also are a cool chill duo that I never knew I wanted to see until I got to see them, and I'm like, no, you two work together. They meet up with other Aiel, and they're speaking with their hands. They're grieving the loss of one of their lost sisters, and then Aviendha has some hand movements with the girls, and they beat her up. Perrin tries to intervene, and one of the women who's beating up Aviendha goes, don't. And I thought that was a weird moment, because I was like, I wish it had been Aviendha who told them to stop, because if someone was beating up and they just like told my friend, like, don't, I think I still would have tried to, like, could you still try to intervene?
But she's my friend, so I don't care what you say.
But after that, would you try to get in there when they are like so intense and good at fighting? I don't know. I think I would listen.
That's fair. It just made me laugh that he was like, I guess I have to take the friend's word for it. I was like, but you have a wolf with you.
I mean, Aviendha was also behaving in a very weird way. Like, she definitely seemed like she was consenting to it. So he was probably just, you know, confused. Little question mark above his head. Like, what is happening?
I did like the sign, though, too, because I thought that was neat that they were using sign language.
Oh, yeah. I liked that
Maiden hand talk. Yeah, they have their own
that was awesome.
thing. And apparently they like, I saw like a behind the episode thing or whatever, they invented, or they changed a sign language of a certain kind to like modify it so that they could talk with just one hand, because they would probably be doing it in battle, like holding a weapon or something. And so yeah, it's like it's its own language, but it's like modified from other sign languages, which I thought it was super cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I do love that.
Some of these like details like that I think are really cool, because it's like, okay, that would have taken a lot of time just for this like 2-minute thing that happened in this season.
But we're gonna get more Aiel.
Oh yeah, that's fair. We also have like Maureen finding out that Rand has been shielded. She's just like, we need to stop. We can't do this. And we kind of see Swan struggling, where she's like, we tried to do it our way. It didn't work. Like, look what happened to you. Look what's happened to us. We need to do it the Tower Law way. That's why it's here. And Maureen is, I know. And Maureen does some exposition dumping that I love, where she was like, I was supposed to get Rand ready and you were supposed to get the tower ready. That's what we agreed to. And I was like, okay, it's to remind everyone what everyone's doing in this scene.
Yeah. Like, how did Swan go from like, I want to retire early to I'm the Amyrlin seat now?
Right.
Quite the transition.
And Swan is like, look, you left the fate of the world to chance because of your pride, because you couldn't tell me you were powerless. And Lan is sitting there and he's like, this isn't what we agreed to. And I'm like, Lan, how did you not foresee this coming? Like, and they say that when the queen comes, they will announce him with 14 sisters to show that he's under control. Moraine is just sitting there talking to Rand in a cell for a lot of this. And he's like, I really want to get to Egwene. And she said that like, he's like, Lanfear showed me. I just want to get there. And she's like, oh, he wants you to go to Falm because that's where you're supposed to proclaim yourself, bannered across the sky in fire. And he's like, well, I don't really want to be held prisoner. And so then he goes in and he asks for Lanfear's help. And she's like, well, what are you going to do if I help you? And then it smash cuts to her just burning the Foregate down in the most spectacular way ever.
That scene was so iconic, and the look on her face, and how she's just like flicking flame, like balls of flame around, just like casually.
And it's so unnecessary, but so spectacularly needed. So...
super hot too. Like, let's be honest.
she's so attractive, and when she gets into her Lanfear, I'm like, you know what? I get it, Luz. Like, I get it.
Also, I don't get it. Like, you left her. How?
Right. How good was this wife? Because it seems like you made the switch quick. We also smash cut back to Leandrin also talking to Moraine's nephew, and we find out that he is a dark friend and he's supposed to kill Moraine, and if his mother suspects, he has to kill her as well. And then we cut to his mother listening from a tube.
I love Lady Anvir. Like, this is a completely contrived, like, not from the books plot, and I still just adore it. It's like, I can't think of, it just feels like palaces and fancy people being dramatic to each other, and it's just so much fun.
Well, and it's a good context to like show what Moraine grew up with, to show like she's pretty standoffish, but she also like played the game of houses, and that's a huge thing from Kyrian. And so it's like
eavesdropping tunnels in every house.
And how did her son not like suspect that? Come on.
He was too busy making sandwiches.
He doesn't get to know until he becomes the man of the house. Like, I don't know.
We also have like Lan going to meet Logain and being like, I promise to let you free if you just tell me what you saw when you looked at Moraine. Did she have any weaves on her? Because you could see male weaves. And he's like, yes, I did. Are you going to let me out? And Lan is like, no, I'm not.
I remember what you did to Steppen, so no.
Like, no. I also love this because Maxim is talking to Alana, and he's like, so is Lanfear really out? And she's like, yes. And he's like, weird world. And I'm like, why is this conversation happening? We also have Perrin finding out about Toe because Avienda asked to be beat up because she was the reason one of their friends died. And he's like, oh, so that's like you have Toe against me. And she's like, it's rude to bring up Toe, Perrin. How dare you? And then Elaine and Nynaeve also capture one of the Sul'dams. They collar her, which is our first reveal that a Sul'dam can be collared. And they can feel pain too. I know. And she ends up crying and being like, get me out of this. You can't have me in here. We also have a beautiful moment where Egwene is in her cell and she's like in her bed braiding, or she now has a bed, which I also thought was pretty sad because it shows the contrast of she's been there long enough to like get these quote unquote treats from Rena.
Yeah.
And she's braiding her hair, which I also think is a good callback to like showing she needs comfort. So she's going back to the Two Rivers ways to like show, some comfort in her appearance.
Well, and in episode 1 of season 1, the "you're never alone," right?
You
Like
have your community.
Nynaeve explaining it, that the braid is a reminder that we're there with you. So it was a really good touch.
I loved that so much. And then we have Rena coming in, treating her like a freaking pet and washing her. And in this episode, Egwene hasn't really said anything. She's either been like collared or like had her mouth closed. And like Rena is sitting there like, oh, I know why you fight me. It's because you don't understand that really we just want everyone under the Empress fighting against the dark. And like, we will unite everyone under the light for the last battle. And we'll do this together. And Egwene looks at her and she goes, Rena, I will kill you. And that's like the first line.
The first and only.
Yeah,
the
it's
whole
like all
episode.
she has to say. It's beautiful. And she just like, and Rena just storms out. So Barthanes is going to go kill Moraine, headed to kill his aunt, NBD. And he goes into the cell that he thinks she's going to be in to find out that his mother double-crossed him and captures him because he is a dark friend. And he is like, please don't do this. Don't do this for her. She's not worth it. She doesn't even like us. She didn't even like my sandwiches, Mom. And she's like, the thing about my sister is she knows right from wrong. And like, I have to too. And sometimes doing the right thing isn't easy. And then he begs her not to tell the queen. And she goes, I already did. And she leaves. So
icon, like an icon. Like, we love her. I don't know. I stand so hard. Lady Anvy, a random character, comes out of nowhere and just steals our hearts. Good.
Every time she was in the room, my fiance was like, damn, like she would just come in hot.
She always does.
Yeah.
The way she interacted, especially with Moraine, was just so much fun.
It just shows it was a good foil to Moraine to show like how stoic she is. And like, she's just sitting there begging for some emotion. And Moraine is like, I'm doing so much, like there's so much going on in my head. I cannot give that to you right now.
No.
Varen comes in while Lyanna is watching over Rand, and she's like, you need to go help protect Kyrian by order. It's an order. The Amerlin
This
needs
is the
your
perfect
help.
Varen being Varen moment.
And Lyanna is like, be careful, and storms out. And Moraine is like, you chose your words very carefully, sister. And then she's like, Dragon Reborn, like, nice to meet you. Let me show you guys an escape route through a way gate. And Lan is there. He's taking Moraine. Alana lets them go. And she's like, Rand, I hope you're worth it. And that's kind of a beautiful moment and exit for Alana this season. The city is still on fire. Swan makes it rain to bring some relief. But then Lyanna shows up and Swan is like, I didn't send for you. And she says,
the way that she's like, I'm here, Amelin.
She's like, I didn't ask for you.
You have that look on her face like, what?
And she's like, go heal the people. The boy can't leave. They go to the Waygate and Lan reveals. I was at this moment, I was like, Lan, just reveal this like after you guys get inside. Like, you guys are on a time limit. You need to go now, because Moraine is like, you're going to have to open the Waygate. And Lan is like, no, you will do it. You weren't stilled. You were just shielded. And they find out that there is a certain type of weave where you can knot it off, where usually weaves come from somewhere. You can knot it off and leave it sitting there. And that's what happened with her shield. It's tied off. And that's how she feels fine. That's how she hasn't been more upset about losing her powers. And that's how she's like been able to go. And so Rand is able to cut through that weave. And then when she gets released, she thanks them both in a very, very sweet moment that Rosamund Pike acts the fuck out of. And then she opens the Waygate and Swan shows up. And she's
this
like,
was just enough time for that to happen. So,
I know.
Perfect timing.
Why?
And usually Swan showing up would be so fun. Moraine and Swan for life.
I love them so much. I know. And
this moment was crushing.
Yeah.
And so she's like, you lied to me about being shielded. Maureen's like, no, I couldn't. I really believed it. And then she tells Moraine to close it. Moraine tells her no. And she's like, well, you swore an oath to me. So I order you to close it. Over Moraine's begging her, like, if you ever loved me, please don't make me do this.
Ugh.
Horrible.
And so then it's closed. It's devastating. It's devastating to watch two people break up without ever saying like, nope, we're definitely done after this moment. There's no coming back from this. And then Lanfear shows up Swan wants to fight her, but Lanfear is much too strong. Like she goes down pretty quickly. And she kind of is just like, yeah, I don't want to kill her because a broken Amerlin is better than a dead Amerlin for me right now, but it's kind of just how I feel. And then she goes to kill Moraine, and Rand is like, if you want my help, do not touch her. I will not forgive you. And so they all leave together, leaving Swan as she begs Moraine not to go. And then if it wasn't dead yet, it's dead now. So the romance is gone. And then that is the end of the 7th episode and into the 8th. I'm so sorry these take so long, guys. Going through 4 is a lot. But everyone's headed to Falm, guys. It's a road trip.
We're getting there.
We opened 3,000 years ago, where Luz is keeping Ishi trapped. Ishi is begging Luz to leave, let the wheel break, and Luz says that he won't do that again. He's going to trap Ishi conscious, but not aware, like kind of like existing in this seal. Like you're aware, but you're not going to be in existence. It's kind of like a dream, and it sounds like it's Ishi's living nightmare, because he just doesn't want to exist, and he's like, you know what I'm gonna do, make you exist for 3,000 years. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna think it's permanent, so like I'm so sorry, but this is the only way to do this. And he's like, I know you hate being alive, so I'm very sorry, my friend, I just can't do this again. And then he traps him. We cut in on the Bornhald family.
Bornhald boys.
The Bornhald boys. And they're getting ready for a fight. And Daddy Bornhald is like, we have to worry about the witches. They're all terrible. And like, and Bornhald Jr. is like, how can we go into this fight? We will lose. And Daddy's like, do you not believe we're fighting under the light? Of course we will win. And it's like, okay, this is weird.
Come on, Dad Bornhald.
Zealotry at its finest.
Even more zealotry, where he's like, do you think the dragon prophecy could be true, Daddy? And Daddy is like, those are the lies of long dead witches. None of us can ever be wrong. And so Lanfear ends up kicking Moraine and Lan out at a waygate, where she's like, yeah, go raise the banner. And Rand is like, you just channeled in the waygate. What about the Black Wind? And she, he just kind of screams it. I'm like, if people don't remember, that's not the best way to remind people.
I will say, like, right before this happened, she's like leading them through, and she says, what's going on back there, you two? Been awful quiet. And I love that moment. Then she kicks him out.
Saw it coming a mile away, though. Let's be honest.
Oh,
like, why did she even have them with her at all? Like, she hates Moraine and like does not need them. But
she just wanted her to raise the banner, and that was the best way she could do it. She couldn't do it herself. Like, that's beneath her. She wants to outsource, but he's like, the Black Wind, and she's just like, I'm pretty chill about this. There are other ways to move, and she says she's the only one who cares about Rand as a person, and that's why she's there. And she winks them out as the Black Wind, as the wind descends on them. And then Perrin and the Aiel are descending on Falm as well. He tells the wolf to stay there. I called it a dog because it is a very tiny wolf, but and then
this gotta be a dog.
This has got to be a dog. And then they see dust there, and they're like, that doesn't belong there. And then they say that many people will wake up from the dream today, which is the Aiel version of many people will die today. Ishi and Lanfear are kind of just chilling, and she's like, hey, I brought Rand. And he's like, why? He's not ready yet. And she kind of mocks him, saying he will like take years. So I'm just going to do it now. He's going to choose us or he won't. And I feel like she like heard Rand loved her one time, and she's like, he's ready. He no notes. Nothing happened.
This is the moment we need him in.
Again, it's Laura's like, he can't look at another woman or else he's gonna fall in love with them. So she's like, it has to be now. And she's kind of like, this is why you woke me. I balance you. And he's like, and you and I balance you.
Yeah, this is the yin yang moment where you look ahead and there's literally
yin yang on a seal
right there.
And they're just kind of looking at all the seals and foreshadowing it up. The White Cloaks are incensing things, and things where I was like, well, this is the biggest reminder that they are religious zealots. It's just incensing everything. And then they're running in to attack Falm, and they put it under attack. Nynaeve is dressed as a Soldam, and she's using one of the Soldams as the Damani from the time before. The Soldam is like, please don't make me go out there. And she's like, so we're going to go out there. Like, I don't care about you. You are a terrible person. I know. And And then Rena is taking Egwene into a fight, and she's like, if you disobey me in battle, I will cut out your tongue and then your hands. And then when Egwene doesn't rise for her, she almost cuts out her tongue, but instead takes Egwene's braid, which again is just horrifying.
Not cool, man. Not
especially
cool.
when we're talking about like the beautiful moment of how it's her reminding herself that she is not alone. Nynaeve is torturing the woman while using the collar to find out where Egwene is going. And it's like it shows Nynaeve at her most ruthless, where she's like, nope, you are standing between me and a friend, so I am going to burn this place to the ground before that happens. And then Ishi is going to use Padan Fain because he's like getting a little bit worried about Rand turning to the dark, so he's kind of setting it up to just murder Rand so that they can try again later, pretty much. And then Padan Fain goes to Matt and puts the dagger before him, and he's like, I bet you use this within the first hour, like you're not gonna make it. And Matt's like, I'm not gonna touch that. And Padan's like, I know you, Matt, you're going to. And that ends up being Matt doing arts and crafts later, where he pushes a dagger.
He's a resourceful king.
He's a resourceful king. He's
crafty.
Like, I was locked in a tower. I learned that arts and crafts are amazing. And he pushes the dagger and he makes it into a spear. That is kind of book canon for Matt. But made me laugh because I'm like, dude, you just tied it to a stick. That's gonna fall right off.
Like, I know you wrapped it in leather, but like
it's not that good of a wrapping though.
Not that good of wrapping. I'm I've got my fingers crossed for an upgraded spear, but
I'm
we'll
really
see.
hoping, because at this point I'm like, it's just the magic of the dagger keeping it in place.
Yeah.
It's like I need to hold on to something, so I will hold on to the stick.
Not to mention, like, the dagger is corrupted, and so being that close to, like, just touching the dagger, that's, you know, being in close proximity to the dagger is also a problem,
right?
You would think. And yeah,
but
you don't want it there.
He just gets it on a stick and he's like, well, now I will use it to open doors, and I will use it to unlock any key. Like...
Open chests. Yeah. Murder bitches. Yeah, hey,
murder bitches.
It was nice.
Someone. I also love just showing how cowardice, like how much cowardice is in Padan Fain, because he sees Matt kill one person and he's like, scooch, gotta go. He's a cartoon
Deuces. Yeah.
But we also have Lan asking Moraine for the bond back. I love this because it's just the two of them beach walking, and I'm like, wow, that's just two pretty people on a beach chit-chatting and mending their relationship, which is
in fabulous
nice.
clothing.
I know. On a fabulous beach.
Wow, you walk so fast.
It's a callback to her carrying all those buckets up to take a bath. And she's like, do you really want it back? And he's like, I think you're afraid about showing your emotions, and you're afraid that I will know you. And then we have a moment where I knew this was happening from the first moment she said it, where she was like, I could only say we weren't equals because you were always my better. And I was like, I knew that was happening.
Yeah, I knew that was going to happen too.
Same. I just, so we're all on the same page. I agree. Like, I was like, no way she means it. Absolutely not. Of course, everybody on the internet is like, how dare she? I was like, that's not what she meant.
That's just setting up a very corny, like, you were always my better, it was always you moment. But I liked it. It worked. But they're also talking about like how Ishi, Luz, and Lanfear were all besties. So that's why Lanfear was there to like connect their trio and get the gang back together. Rand is hunting Egwene down. During this time, he goes and faces down to Rock, and it's the scene that we were all talking about, where everyone thought it was going to be this beautiful moment of Heron Mark Blade against Heron Mark Blade, and Rand was like, no, I have the one power, I'm just gonna kill you all.
A little Indiana Jones moment, which I'm not gonna lie, I haven't actually seen that Indiana Jones movie, but that's a thing that happens. A guy comes up with a sword and like flutters the sword and gets really excited about it, and then he just shoots him. And that's pretty much what happens.
Famously have seen the first 3/4 of one Indiana Jones movie, and I always fall asleep, like without fail. I'm just like, I cannot watch a full Indiana Jones movie. So I do know the scene you're talking about. Never seen the full thing. So
is that so? That's the one Indiana Jones movie that you've seen?
I think so. I think I've seen different parts of it, but it's just kind of canon that I'm like, I can't make it all the way through. They're so long.
I'm gonna say something controversial about this scene, though. I kind of liked it that there was no sword fight thing.
I loved it.
I thought it was great because people were complaining about it on the internet. They're like, we should have seen an actual fight here, but this was terrible. And I'm like, I thought it was really well done, and I thought the CGI even looked good.
Yeah, like I really like what they're doing with Rand's power, how they're showing it
Yeah.
corrupted. I like that we're kind of showing him lean on it a little bit more because he's
Yeah.
using a lot of like force behind his stuff and he hasn't learned like the finesse yet. And so it's kind of fun to see splayed out in random battle scenes.
Honestly, I couldn't remember. Like after I saw that scene, I was like, yes, that's what I would have done. I forgot why he doesn't do it in the books. I'm like, why did you fight him with
Right.
the sword?
Yeah.
You literally have the one power. This makes way more sense. So no, it from my perspective, not a controversial opinion at all. I
Yeah.
loved it, and it made me laugh. And then actually part of that scene, whenever everybody that he killed falls to the ground on their knees and then ends up like folding forward as if they're kneeling to him, is somewhat of a call back to something that happens in the books. So it was a nice touch.
Perfect. I also like it because he only killed like the warriors and then the one person who was
Yeah.
there did it himself. So like I liked that. I thought it was very good like storytelling and effective things.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is the Sanchen's like modus operandi. This is how they work. And Rand is just gonna come in and bulldoze everything because that's Rand.
How Rand works.
And he's just trying to get to that Egwene because she is collared and he is upset about it. So we also see Perrin and the Aiel coming in. They run into Loyal and Ingtar, who got the horn off screen. Again, we could have shown Loyal getting the horn. We just
more
don't have
run
enough of
time.
him.
Like that is one of the. There are two scenes that I really missed from this finale, and that's one of them.
Right. And so we also have Ingtar wanting them to get the heck out of there with the horn. And Loyal's like, we can't leave without Egwene. She's right here. And they're like, well, the horn is the key. And then Loyal has a speech that's like, what of the heroes of today? Like, those are us right now. And he's rousing everyone. And again, this made me laugh because there's just 3 random Aiel women who have never met this Ogier. And he's sitting there like rousing speech. And it pans to the 3 of them. And they're like, yeah. It's like, why are they being shown? They don't know this man. Like, he's just some man. So that makes me laugh every time. But we also have the Damani and the Suldam starting a battle up on a giant tower, shooting things down. Egwene is kind of trying to fight it and not like work with Rena until she sees the white cloaks and she's like, oh, I also have trauma with them. Maybe I can just and she hears them screaming, burn the witches. And she's like, oh yeah, that's my trauma too. Thank you.
No, well, I'll take it. Yeah, I can take care of those guys.
Right. And she's
that's
like,
fine.
Okay, I'll shoot a fireball at that. Like they deserve it at least. And then again, Rena just keeps calling her a good girl. It's not great. Ingtar does have his hero moment where he goes to fight a bunch of the Sunchen fighters. The others are fighting with him, but he's like, keep moving, get the horn out of here. I will like have the hold. And then he tragically dies in that moment. So in a very different way than in the books. So interesting.
That's the other scene that I was really missing from this episode.
Yeah.
If I'm remembering right, isn't Ingtar a dark friend?
Okay, I didn't know if we were going to spoil that. Yes.
Yeah,
but he redeems himself in the end, which is it's the first and one of the only examples we get of dark friends coming back to the light, and the conversation that he has with Rand is really impactful. And so the fact that we missed that is so sad. It could have been with Perrin. He could have said the same things
that's
Perrin.
true.
They have the same connection from this book because it's like the hunter, like, and he
the hunt for the horn.
Yeah, and he was obsessed with the horn in this one too. Not as much as in the book, because Laura, if you remember correctly, in book 2, he's always like, "But the horn, the horn."
Oh
yeah,
yeah. He was intense. He was intense about the horn. But yeah, I mean, we got hints in episode 2 or no, episode 1. You know, he asked Perrin like, think about it from Thane's perspective. It would be interesting for you to find out his reasons for everything. And so they laid the groundwork, and according to an interview that Rafe, the showrunner, did, they actually shot Ingtar's confession.
I wonder why they cut it out.
I mean, deleted, like, I need that deleted scene so badly. Like, or an extended cut. I don't well, runtime, I guess. Like, it was already like over an hour.
Packed.
So
yeah.
It was just sad. I wish they had it.
It was just very sad. We also have Lanfear just Lanfearing. She's manipulating people. She runs into Master Doman, who gave Moraine the Quendiar and the Lanfear inscription earlier on in the season. And she's like, hey, remember that Quendiar? I have more for you, and it's intact, and I want you to drop it into the bottom of the ocean. So she's getting rid of all the seals. And then Suroth wants to be a part of the fighting, but Ishii is like, hey, you put those strongest Amani out on the ships, right? And they can gentle a man, right? So he's just full on like, Rand has to go. We're not doing this. And he's like, I know Lanfear is going to double cross me. Egwene has a moment where she refuses to fight any longer, and Rena takes out a blade to cut off her hands. But then there are catapults being brought out, and they are knocked down by catapults. And we find out it's at the area where Egwene and Rena probably moved away. So good for them. And then Junior White Cloak is like, wow, Dad, we're actually winning. Like, we're winning for the light. And the dad is like, well, yeah, we were obviously going to win. Like, how dare you? You just don't believe enough. Nynaeve's Damani is also killed, and she loses her bracelet because of it. A ton of Damani are killed around Egwene and the Soldoms, and so she sees one of the bracelets. And when Rena wakes up, it cuts over to Egwene, and if you notice in the corner of your eye, you see that she's already wearing one of the bracelets. So it's a little bit of foreshadowing. And then Perrin tells Perrin at one point, he's like, hey, someone's coming in the distance. Don't kill them, just in case it's a friend.
And then when you look at that,
it's a friend.
It is a friend.
Okay, I have to say about Perrin here, Perrin, Matt, and Egwene in these like scenes that happen in rapid succession, it's, even though they don't talk about it that much in the show, it's the perfect example of how they're all Taviran, right? So the tower that Egwene is sitting on gets bombarded by a trebuchet, and she happens to be the one, or like her and her Soldom are the ones that don't get killed. And then here it is that Perrin just decides like, let's hold off for a second and not kill this person. Turns out it's Matt, who's also a Taviran. And so it's just like the pattern being like, oh, they have plot armor. That's basically all we really know about being Taviran so far in the show, and we're just gonna make things work for them.
But what a way to give someone plot armor, to be like, no, it's inherent to the plot that they have plot armor. You can't just kill them. It's not. It's really hard. Okay, it's gonna be really hard.
Yeah.
And then like Matt is like, oh my gosh, Perrin, and he's like, Rand's here. He has terrible hair. He's just always discussing Rand's hair. But
I
we
feel
also
like so many times also the writers are like, what will Twitter say when they see Yosha's haircut? Right? Yosha, the guy who plays Rand. Like, what will Twitter say when they see that? And it's like, they're gonna hate it. And so we're gonna make Matt hate it, so he can be the voice of the viewer.
Yeah. See, as a redhead, I make a joke of like every redhead on TV is just like every male one is just a man with brown hair that they dyed red. Like that's my ongoing joke where I'm like, it's just a brunette with dyed hair. And so I saw it and I was like, yeah, that's just a man who was sick of dyeing his hair red. Like that's all it is. Like,
he's a redhead. What do you
is mean? He? Yeah, he's totally a redhead.
No, he is.
I don't think in real life. I've always seen him with brown hair. I thought he dyed it.
Well, he was wearing a wig in season 1, I think. But I think he's a redhead.
Oh, I didn't think he was. I thought he was a brunette. If so, I've made so many jokes about him being a brunette that I'll have to apologize.
This could be the shock of the century.
I know.
Maybe that's just because most of the time that I see him, he's been a redhead. But man, now I have to like go back into the
you have
Instagram.
To let me know.
I've never seen him in anything else. I guess
this could
I
be
only
the moment
know
where I find out I'm wrong about my redhead jokes. But what are we gonna do? I've already said it so many times. But Rena does blame Egwene for their failure. And Egwene is like, good, I want you to blame me for the failure. I hate you. And then she suddenly puts one of the collars on Rena, and Rena calls her an idiot because collars only work on those who can channel. And Egwene goes, yeah,
exactly, bitch. Sorry.
I know, like, dude, yeah. Like it's
that's pretty much what
satisfying.
It was.
And then
I figured it out because that's why we have a connection, because you can channel.
We're literally linking like I do with my sisters in the tower.
And she's
like, the garbage.
And I love it because it's the perfect moment where she's like, we're the exact same. It's just you're weaker than I am.
You're
and like
so
that's a
weak.
horrifying thing for Rena to hear, is like you're just so weak in the power that no one could ever find you.
Yeah.
And so Rena tries to hit Egwene and it bounces back on her. And Egwene pushes Rena against a pole and starts choking her. And Rena is like, if you kill me, it kills you. I still hold your collar. And Egwene is like, yeah, okay. Like, go off. And she tells her to remove it. Rena does take it off and begs for her life. And Egwene just watches her die. Which is a huge turning point for, like, we've heard a lot in the books how Egwene is very ruthless. This is a very big delineation from the books. And And it's pretty dark to watch, especially for this character, because a lot of times she's a little bit more like resentful of things that happen to her, but she never quite gets her hands dirty. And here there's definitely
did.
Mhm.
And very important to know too that while Rena was choking to death, Egwene could feel it.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
she was fighting it until she released the collar, at least. She was feeling it twice over, in fact. And so she was just standing there taking it because man, was she on a mission.
Right. So I loved this. Egwene is one of my favorite characters. So seeing her get like a little bit of a darker turn and a little bit more like it gives her a lot more substance.
She's my favorite character.
Yeah.
So yeah, seeing this was very satisfying.
Yeah, I love what they've done with her on the show. I think it's very fascinating. So she kind of after that happens, she's exhausted, and then Rand shows up and he's like, I came to save you. It looks like you're fine.
You didn't need saving.
And she asks how he's there. And of course, he's like, I thought I was protecting you. And it's like, yep. Okay, Rand. I just, in this moment, like, it was never more clear to me, like, she had just spent so long grieving him. And, like, it's traumatic, everything she's been through. And obviously, like, this is one of the lesser traumatic things, but it has to be traumatic to, like, grieve someone that roughly, where, like, they talk about it a lot during the season. And then he just comes back and he's like, I thought I was protecting you.
Yeah, that would be a big, like, F off. Like,
I know.
We were literally going to run to the tower together. You were going to be my warder. We talked about that the night you left. And then you just vanished. Like, oh my God, I would be so mad.
It's just like it's one of those things where I'm like, how do you guys move forward from this? Like, I don't know how they're going to do that. So it'll be interesting.
It's a classic Wheel of Time lack of communication too.
Yes.
It's just like instead of talking about it, like I'm just gonna decide and leave. Like ridiculous.
Yeah, and he quickly moves on as
and
well.
quickly move on.
Right, where she's like, oh, I was grieving you, and you were just sleeping with a Forsaken. Oh, awesome.
Cool.
Yeah. And then the others are still fighting. Matt says that Rand is going to Egwene no matter what, because they all know that. And they need to get him the horn, but they can't open it. And Matt's like, you can't open it, you say.
I have the magic dagger.
And then Ishi is there with Egwene. He knocks both her and Rand down. And then they send up a flare to shield Rand. Ishi says that next time he hopes it will be different. He wants Rand to do this, but he will keep him in life just like Rand did to him. And Rand is like, look, I've never turned to you. I'm never going to. This is just not going to happen. And then Perrin runs into the White Cloaks and Valda goes after him. And then a wolf shows up again.
And the wolf trauma is back. And he's like, I told you guys, I'm being attacked by a wolf. It's real.
But somehow Valda is still saved. Like, this is the second wolf attack he has now survived.
But I bet you they stopped making fun of him in this third season.
I don't know, because Daddy White Cloak is the one who saved him, and so he's the only one who notices. And
nobody to witness it.
Yeah, nobody witnesses it, but Daddy White Cloak. And Daddy White Cloak kills the wolf. And this is also a turning point for Perrin, because
so sad.
I was not expecting this of Perrin, but Perrin gets golden in the eyes and he kills Daddy White Cloak in rage. And then Junior White Cloak sees that it happens and he starts screaming 2 rivers as others drag him away, which we said was a great change from the novel, because one of our biggest jokes in the novels is how obsessed Junior White Cloak is with Perrin, when it's like, Perrin didn't do very much to you.
Yeah.
So like,
you're hearing about Perrin through like weird back channels, and like none of everything that you know about him is like mild hearsay. Like,
right.
Yeah.
Like, it definitely
very
made
direct
sense.
now.
Like, yes.
At least clear. Now there's a connection.
Well, and they'll have a complicated relationship, right? Because Perrin saved his life. He told Aviendha not to kill him, so it's not just he killed his dad. There's a lot, it's the weaves they're weaving.
They're weaving. And then Nynaeve and Elaine at one point was shot with an arrow. She can't heal her. Elaine is like, your wisdom, just do what you need to do. Perfect Elaine moment. And then Nynaeve pushes it through. Elaine says to leave.
Clumsily, by the way.
Yeah.
Not again. I'm watching with my fiance, and he goes, "Why did she do it like that?"
It's like she kind of paused a little bit, and it was like, "No."
Well, also she pushed the whole thing through. Like, you're not supposed to do that.
It was so strange. I was like, did no one research how to remove an arrow? Like, I
have no idea how that made it through, but I mean, in more ways than one.
Yeah.
No
kidding.
Oh god,
yeah, that was something else.
That was so strange. I'm so glad I'm so glad you mentioned that. And so then they're like they're walking towards the tower, and Elaine is like, you should just leave me behind. And Nynaeve was like, I can't trust myself to channel if you're not with me. Matt is trying to get the horn to the soldiers because he ran it ahead from Perrin being attacked and, killing White Cloaks. And suddenly he runs into a bunch of soldiers and they're about to charge him. And then he blows the horn and he stops time and he remembers that he is a hero of the horn, which is also not book canon, I don't believe.
Not
book
that I'm
canon.
aware of.
Yeah. And he speaks in the old tongue and he tells them all to attack. And then the fighting gets intense and the heroes are just going in there.
Which
The
can
heroes,
you clarify?
which include
Oh, sorry. I'm
our
so
boy
sorry.
Uno.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Uno.
These when you blow the horn, it is the heroes of the horn, which are people in history who have become so important to the pattern that they are woven in, and you get to call them at the final battle. But they called them a little early this time, so it's
and
very
Uno showed
new.
up.
And Uno showed up.
Turns out Uno is a hero of the horn.
I got emotional.
Like you thought he wasn't gonna be. That's how he says it. It's so funny.
Are you ready to fucking fight?
I love him so
like,
much.
I was so emotional when I saw him. I was like, oh, that's so nice that he's here.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad they gave that to him.
I know.
And honestly, like people have been complaining, like, what did he do? Like, first of all, heroes of the horn don't have to be extreme heroes every turning of the pattern.
Right.
This wasn't his first rodeo. They get spun out, like, and there's a hint that he is in fact one of the heroes that book readers are familiar with. So yeah, he doesn't go by Uno. Obviously, he's somebody else. So you said that it made you emotional to see Uno. Honestly, I went from having I have this relief crying. Like I don't know if that's like a thing that other people have, but when I'm so tense and then I have this extreme burst of relief, I will cry. And so the whole Matt thing, he's blowing the horn and all that stuff, and I've been so tense about how he's is he are they gonna make him a dark friend? Dear God, they better not. And then all of a sudden he realizes that he's actually a hero, and you see the look of relief on his face, and I'm like, oh God, I had empathetic relief crying. And then we saw Uno and I had delighted, excitement crying. I was crying this whole last part of the episode.
I love what they've been doing with Matt so much. I think it's just been so interesting to watch him fight and see who he's supposed to be, and to have that final moment of oh, I'm just a hero of the horn. It's so nice.
I remember when he said, I was just
I know,
I'm done. So good.
Well, and then we immediately follow it with Ishii trying to get Rand to choose his side, and he won't do it. And then Matt walks up, and in the moment where I was like, Matt, please don't do this. It's a bad idea. He sees Ishii talking to Rand, and he picks up the sphere and he throws it, and then it goes through Ishii and into Rand.
And she's a force projection. Who would have guessed?
I know. And Ishii's like, how could you not see that? And everyone in the audience is like, right? Come on.
We're we all saw it.
We all saw it coming. And Matt is apologizing to Rand. And then Ishii goes to work against him, and Egwene suddenly steps in between them and starts fighting back. And Ishii is like, you cannot face me down. And she's
like, that's cute. And Egwene's like, say that again.
And she does not give a shit. And she starts shielding them with more and more power, to the point where it doesn't look like that. It looks like this is a little bit beyond her powers, and she's just going to keep doing it because she wants to protect Rand and Matt.
It does start breaking down though.
It does. It's
can only
she's
last
only
for
so
powerful,
long.
right? Against the Forsaken, it wasn't gonna work forever,
right?
Well, and then we have Moraine on the beach with Lan, and she's like, oh my gosh, someone's being shielded up in that tower. I need to destroy the ships. And Lan is like, are you sure that is a great idea? How do you know it's Rand? You might kill thousands of innocent people. And she said, I would kill 1,000 innocent people just to save that one. And she attacks the ship. And as that's about to happen, Perrin shows up to help protect Egwene, Nynaeve and Elaine show up. Egwene and Elaine are the two hardest names in the century to ever create. And Elaine goes over and she starts to heal Rand. This is my least favorite moment.
Oh, gosh, I hate this part
where he looks at Elaine and he goes, "Who are you?" And she goes,
he
"I'm
said
Elaine."
It, the stupidest way too. He's like, "Who are you?" It's like, oh my gosh.
I mean, it's a good question, but just she's just sitting there.
Why does he have to ask?
Light.
Just,
you're dying.
It's the person healing you. Just don't. Yeah. You don't need to ask questions.
But she is healing him the best she can. But there is a huge scar that is there afterwards.
Dun dun dun.
I know. And then Moraine attacks the ships, and the shield is released from Rand, and he is able to get up and fight. And he walks through the shield and he stabs Ishii using his heron blade knife with the one power or sword. And the heron marked blade like pretty much burns right off and leaves Rand with a heron marked scar. And Ishii is about to die. And he says he's so happy. He wished Rand could see it. And he says, "What?" And he says, "Nothing." And then he disappears. And then Moraine realizes that she can be the one who sends up the signal that the dragon is reborn.
It's like,
and
anybody else? Oh, this is me? Okay.
It's like it's Hermione and being like, "Oh," or like Harry in the
it was
Azkaban. It was just me all along.
Yeah.
And so she sends up the dragon to announce Rand is there, and the people are cheering, and the Aiel are like, "The god of Khan," and then the heroes disappear, and Lanfear is there too. And then we shift to the end credits. And Lanfear is going to get the seals. And she walks in, and they are all broken with a woman playing with spider-like weaves. And then the lady of many name changes, Mogideon, who is there, and she's saying that Ishii sent them all free because he didn't trust Lanfear. And then she's just whispering softly from the shadows, and says that Lanfear used to mock her, saying she was cautious. But she says that she was a huge fan of Luz, but now they are all there, and she shouldn't go after him because he is all of theirs, and all 5 of them. And she disappears, and Lanfear is freaked out, and she says, "Light help you, Rand al'Thor." And that's the end.
If Lanfear is freaked out, we should all be.
And if Lanfear's like invoking the light also as a dark friend, kind of weird.
It's really weird. So that is the end of season 2. What are all our thoughts?
I loved it. I thought season 2 was a major step up from season 1 personally.
I really liked season 1, and I thought that season 2 was just like even better. I was just like, oh, this show is going to be phenomenal if they keep on this progression like they are.
Season 2 season finale, like I remember Laura and I watched season 1 season finale, and we were both kind of like, this is kind of a letdown. Like, why was it like kind of just a bummer? And this one, it was like, nope, they ratcheted it up.
Yeah,
they had so many payoffs. This was exactly what I wanted to see.
Yeah.
And like, it's like we were talking about, the characters have such darker turns. Like, we haven't even been able to take a beat with Nynaeve's trauma of going through the arches and her like having to relive like parts of her life that are no longer real. Like, that's rough.
Really rough. Yeah.
And we barely touched on that. We now have like Egwene and all of her trauma coming into play, where it's like she just keeps getting beat up by groups of people, and she's like finally ready to not like stand down or be a part of everything that's going on. And it's very interesting. And now we have Matt back, so I can't wait to see Matt actually interact with his friends again.
And Rand also, he's got his Jesus wound now, so
his Jesus wound.
Never forget. He's permanently injured from here on out.
And he has
spoilers, I guess, a little.
I mean,
it obviously didn't heal. So
it was dark and it was twisty and it was on his side and he looked in pain. So we can
something going on with that.
Yeah.
They're doing so many good things though with this show, like the casting and the costumes and everything. I think are just absolutely phenomenal. I can't say enough good things about the actors that they have cast in this show. Like,
there have been zero misses.
I was gonna say not all of them have like been like the picture that I've had in my mind, but they've been perfectly cast. Like, I have zero complaints about that, and I think that the acting is just phenomenal. Some of these people, I'm like, Madeline Madden, I think just deserves an Emmy for
incredible. If she's not like, if they don't put her forward, if she's not nominated, I'm gonna revolt. Like, that's just she was so good this season, and that's coming from somebody who is very much invested in Egwene. You know, I feel like if anybody's going to be a critic, or like if something goes wrong with Egwene, I would be the one to notice. And she's just bodying this role. Like, she's so amazing.
Well, and something about her, like, they have it perfectly where she's not this perfect, like, I think in earlier books it was like, oh, Egwene can kind of do no wrong, but in these it's like, no, she's entirely fallible. Like, she has Elaine sitting there being like, you need to get your own head out of your ass. You're being super jealous.
Jealousy's a bad look on you.
Like, I'm going to call it out. You can't be like this at the White Tower. You need to grow up a little bit. And then like she has to grow up through the rest of the season. So there's like a lot of buildup and then a ton of payoff with people.
Payoff.
And
And Elaine, like speaking of Elaine, like how delightful is she that she comes in and she's so princessy and like funny and a great sidekick at times, incredibly wise, like saving Nynaeve's ass. Like she's amazing. Can't wait to see what she does in future seasons.
I'm so interested to see her get like more of a role that isn't just like sidekick.
Right.
Yeah. Unlike Zoe Robbins, I'm sitting there and I'm like, I want to seek out her other work to see if like, is this just her personality or is she just
she
an
was
amazing
a Power
actress?
Ranger.
Like,
I haven't seen it, but yeah, she was a Power Ranger.
So I'm just like, it feels like she's such a powerful Nynaeve that sometimes I'm like, it feels like this is just your like personality and it's just coming through.
Are
like,
you Nynaeve?
Are you Nynaeve? Are you really reactionary? I just have to know.
Honestly, okay, so I got to interview her at the season 1 premiere, and she was like so delightful and kind and almost soft spoken that I was just like, that's just acting. You know what I mean?
That's amazing.
You being Nynaeve is just crazy, amazing acting.
That's just talent then. I'm just so impressed by her because like she just spirits it in such a way. And I can't talk about how like much of a dud sometimes Moraine felt in the books, and what they're doing with her in the actual TV series is so
I mean, honestly,
done.
Maureen's like kind of the main character, and they're really running with it and making it feel right.
It does feel right. There are people who will complain about it, but I mean, you've got Rosamund Pike. Like, let her cook, okay?
Well, and like they're doing so much with her character where she's an entirely flawed main character, where she makes choices where you're sitting there and you're like, just be nice to your sister for half a second.
Like, just be nice to Lan. Like, I was so mad at her early in the season.
And she just acts the shit out of it. And she just has this like certain energy of like, I have to be above anything else. I have to make this my entire self, or like I will lose everything because like, what is it all for if I haven't made all these sacrifices? And you're constantly on her side when sometimes I'm like, I shouldn't be. It's again the like, Nynaeve, don't make me root for Elaine. It's like, how am I voting for Moraine to be like, yeah, it makes sense that she has to kill 1,000 people just in case she's saving Rand. Like,
well, and honestly, like the depth that they're adding to these characters through like little details and like single lines that they say, like having her sister deliver certain lines, and then that really just building upon her character where it's like, oh yeah, we know that she's like an extremely morally just person because she's been like this her entire life. Her sister told us this. Like some of those details like that I think could be overlooked, but it's just like so well done in the writing, and also I don't know, it's just amazing.
Yeah, I feel like the writers are doing a great job because it's not just, learning about Moraine from other characters, but we also learned about Lanfear, for example, from Moraine. And it's just it's very much show not tell, but like obviously you have to learn some things by being told them, but they're not telling the audience. They're organically telling other characters, which I find I appreciate, because it's like, of course I know what's going on. I've read the books multiple times. I need my friends who are watching this because I convinced them to watch it to know too, and the show's helping them out in that regard.
And they do that at a breakneck speed. Like they will shove in some dialogue stuff where I'm like, people will have to watch this twice, and like it's a good show, so like I will watch this twice to catch every single moment. But they do not it's a chock full hour that you are watching when you're sitting down to watch it.
It really
is. Honestly, like some of the pieces where they're like trying to add in some of these details and stuff too, and like exposition dump, it doesn't feel like it's exposition dumping where other shows would. And I think to me, like there was only like a couple times when I'm watching these episodes, because I've watched them twice now, where I'm like, okay, well, yeah, I can tell that this is just an exposition dump. But other shows I don't think would have handled it as seamlessly as this did.
They did a really good job with it. I'm not gonna lie, I've been very pleased. Obviously I want more time, because other than episode 1, which I found to be slower than the rest of them, it was a breakneck pace, easy to miss things. Like I know my friends who didn't read the books did miss things, because they'd be like, what is the horn? And I was like, well, they did mention in this episode, but it's like if they say it twice in the context of 8 episodes and it's literally like 3 seconds of a 1-hour episode, they're gonna forget. And so it would be helpful if we could have a little more time.
I do wish it was at least 10 episodes. Like it just feels like it would have a little bit more room to breathe, because like he's already said, the showrunner's already been like, I think I can do it in 8 seasons. Like I think that'll be a good amount.
That doesn't seem like enough to me, but
just got to
I don't
trim a
know.
lot of the fat. Like
Yeah.
I
mean,
think it's doable, but it's
Yeah.
tough
I
because like
mean,
I don't know.
two of the books ran parallel. Like
yeah.
when you think about it, they're like things were happening simultaneously in both of those books. And so, and there's other books that kind of slow down a little bit. And there are certain books that are semi-repetitive. Like they changed, or this particular season is supposed to be books 2 and 3, kind of, because it pulled some plots, like Matt's plot in Tarvalin is very similar to his plot in book 3. And so at times I think they will kind of like fuse certain books or certain plots just because they kind of go well together, or they are semi-repetitive. And so you might as well just make them one.
Right.
Yeah. And I do
because
think
the next season is supposed to be book 4.
Just book 4. Yeah, but book 4 is a big one. Like when you think about all
that's
the
my
main
favorite one, so I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, there's some big plots, and like and they're all very different. So it's going to be different locations, different like cultures, different. Yeah, it's going to be wild.
That'll be an amazing season. I cannot wait for
Yeah.
it.
If only they had 10 episodes.
If
that would
only
be
they
so
had
much
10
better.
I just wish, I mean, just give them a little bit more money, Amazon. Like,
Come on.
you can do it. It's okay.
Siphon off a little of that Rings of Power money and just give it to Wheel of Time.
I do feel I really like that they're not being too precious with season to season. Like this season, we got like a little bit of an update to the weaves that we didn't have last season. And I'm like, in story context, that makes sense because as the characters learn more about the weaves, we can look at more like differentiation as like they grow and change things. And even with a character who's supposed to be pretty big, I like looked it up and they were like, yeah, it was a stand-in. We're just gonna hire the person later and it's okay. It's a single scene, and like this is a wishy-washy storyline, so you can be wishy-washy with faces and names sometimes. And I think that that's also an effective way to do this storytelling, to like make sure it's at its best when it's happening.
Yeah, like we don't want to for a one-off scene in episode 8, we're not, we can't hire somebody as like big as we need for this character who's going to be way more important later. So they're being judicious with their money and time because they have to be.
So it's interesting.
Kritter, did you have like a standout moment from this season or a standout episode?
Oh gosh, I think the most it's kind of tough. There's several like super fun moments that happened, like whenever Moraine cut Lanfear's throat. That was like something that I did not expect, that I found to be positively delightful. The whole episode 6, Egwene's plot with like paralleled with Rima, like that episode I would not change, I don't think, a thing. It was incredible. And then episode 8 was so emotional for me. Like Matt blowing the horn was just such an amazing thing to see as somebody who's been like thinking about what that might look like for so long. And so I thought that was incredibly well done too, and I really liked it. So those are probably like the main highlights, but there's a lot of stuff that I really love this season.
It's so like hard when I'm like, we just talked about the back half of the season, because there's a lot that happens in the front half that you just forget about once you reach. I think honestly, episode 5 is like the turning point. Once you start watching some of this, you're just like, I totally forgot all about Nynaeve's struggles.
Yeah, like Nynaeve's
all these
test.
Things that happen.
That was also an incredible part, but because I've been so fixated on this other stuff. But Nynaeve's test was excellent too.
And I think one of the best, honestly, like when I'm getting into some of like the things that happen to Egwene, I'm just like, oh yeah, there were also some really excellent acted scenes from Lanfear and from Ishamael and like all these other people, and I'm just like, oh yeah, I guess I'm not giving enough credit to all these other actors, because the second half of the season is just like, so they just turn the dial way up.
Yeah.
They have it going at a breakneck speed in the back half. I feel like in the first half they did have a little bit more
slower
breathing. Yeah, because like I also think that the scene with Maureen, like even though it's much slower, her like taking up the pails of water to make her bath and then sitting in the bath and grieving in the bathtub is like one of the most emotional scenes. And like beautifully done. And it's just like, okay, well that's not like a standout, but like when you watch it, you're like, oh yeah, that's where like the beauty and like the slow moments happen. We just don't get enough. Perfect like,
callback to first season.
And so I think this show's doing such a good job of like weaving parallels, like you said, like with the Rima versus Egwene, and like the callback to the bathtub, and then the callback to like the best scene of the first season with
Yeah.
the fights. And like there's just so many callbacks of like, oh, do you remember this moment? Like here's
The
the scene of
lanterns
that.
in
Yeah.
episode 1 because it was winter night
Mhm.
again.
And then it's just so many good things, even with like the Matt character changing actors and like kind of showing the shift in him throughout the season and like kind of having a more fun loving person, then going back to the more torture, but like diving into the more madness area of it as he gets a little bit lighter. I just think it's really, really effective. So
yeah.
So Kritter, you probably already know about this because you're very into Wheel of Time.
Dialed in.
You're very dialed in. But our friend told us about this when we were talking about like the first 4 episodes, that the opening sequence with the weaves does not appear in the first 7 episodes, and then it reappears in the 8th episode because Moraine now is no longer shielded. Did you notice that?
The opening what? The opening what?
Like that opening sequence where it's like the
Oh my god.
loom
I
and all
didn't think
the
about
weaves.
that.
yeah, a lot of
because
people
now she can channel again and use weaves, so that's back. And we didn't know that either, and our minds were like blown in that moment. We were like,
I just thought they were like,
kidding me.
oh, you know, here it is for the finale. Like that's what I thought. They're just like giving it to us because
no, it's all tied in. They've like put so much thought into this to the point where even the opening sequence can only appear at the right moments.
I think that might have been like a fan theory, but like it tracks.
fits
where it's
perfectly.
like,
It feels really cool.
yeah, like if that's what they're doing, it's like, okay, good job.
Yeah, that
Perfect.
works for me.
Yeah. So it's just so well done. It's a great tracking. I really loved the season.
Me too.
Yeah,
Cannot wait
so
till
great.
season 3.
Is there something that's a little bit non-spoilery, but is there something you're really looking forward to with season 3, or something you're hoping for
Yes.
more of a character?
More the Aiel, actually.
Okay.
It's a culture, and the Aiel they're my favorite culture in the Wheel of Time. And Avienda's introduction was different than it was in the books, but I found it to be really well done. And Bane and Shiad are also super fun in the books, and so the fact that we got to meet them this season was really fun. And there are other Aiel and certain interactions with certain Aiel that I just am really excited to see, because they are really funny in some ways, because their humor is so different from what they call wetlander humor. And it's just, and they're such badasses, which people have seen, in the cold open of episode 7 of season 1, and then with Avienda and Bane and Chiad. And so they're the best, and we should be getting a lot more of them in season 3. And that is my biggest highlight. That's the thing that I know is going to be absolutely amazing.
Laura, do you have something coming up that you're excited for? Or
I mean, honestly, I think this is gonna be a surprise to people that listen to our podcast and know how I feel about this character, but I'm kind of like looking forward to seeing Elaine more, because and this is not a character that I really enjoyed in the books, but I think that the actress is pretty good, and I'm really kind of looking forward to seeing like what they do with this character, because they have endeared me to this character in the show because she's just more effective and likable than I found her in the books. And
that's what they do, is make you like people that you should hate, or not, or at least not like that much. Yeah.
And so I'm kind of curious, like as this character grows within the story, to see more of her. And then also I just really love Nynaeve, so I've got to see more of my girl.
Yeah, Laura's a hard Nynaeve stan, and I'm a hard Egwene, so like we have like the two different spectrums of that. So
okay, it's funny how that happens. Like I'm Egwene, and somehow that's just why.
Yeah.
Couldn't tell you, other than that she's the best, and that's it. Yeah,
I always say it has something to do with your inner personality, because like when Laura describes what she likes about Nynaeve, I was like, nope, don't see it.
Well, that's just it. I think I would not be friends with Nynaeve, but I think I am more like Nynaeve than I am Egwene. So it's like, it's kind of like it's hard to explain. I guess opposites attract, something like that. It's like I admire Egwene, whereas I am Nynaeve, and so that's those whatever.
That's very fair.
That's where I'm at.
Hannah, what are you looking forward to?
Because they've changed it so much, I can't wait to see more of Min, to kind of see like her redemption, or to see like where she's going, because I think that that's just so excellently done. And I just like watching this is nothing from the books. Everything I can't wait to see is just like, oh, the show's doing such a good job. I love to see the show's pairings, like pair
Oh,
ups
yeah.
of different characters. And I am excited to see a hopeful, maybe return to certain homeland places that
Yeah.
we could potentially
Oh,
see, because
that's
I love those storylines. They were some of my favorite storylines in the opening books. So cannot wait to see that. So
I would
same.
also like to see, because I always felt like in the book series that they just like threw away the whole like wolf brother thing with Perrin. It was like started out as being a thing, and then it was just kind of like, meh, we'll just call him Golden Eyes and that's good enough. And I would really like to see more of that like play out in this series, and they like get a little deeper with it. So if they could do that, that would really make me happy.
if they could just have Perrin more and not have him just like kind of grumbling at people for the
Yeah.
first half of the season,
It's like
I would be very happy.
just growling like,
We have to
must
find our
eat.
friends. It's like our joke of the first season of it, where we're just like Rand's running around being like, "I need a queen." Like you have certain characters who have certain traits, but
Word on the street is that Rand and Perrin will both have like their time in the spotlight this next season. Whereas
Good.
like in this season, it was very Egwene and like semi naive because she got that
Mhm.
whole episode that was basically
Yeah.
devoted to her. The it sounds like Perrin and Rand will have their moments, which is appropriate if you know what
Yeah.
what plots are coming.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, are there any
I'm
final
excited.
thoughts?
I'll just say, like, I think Swan is in a really tough spot right now. And so I'm also curious and excited to see what goes on in the White Tower now that some nobility in Carian know that Leandrin is a dark friend, which is very relevant. And Varen and Alana and Moraine sided with Rand, and so there's going to be some kind of discord there. And then Swan, according to Lanfear at least, is in some way weakened. So that should prove pretty exciting. The piping hot tea coming out of the White Tower at all times is like something that I just find absolutely delicious. And so I'm sure season 3 is gonna really deliver in that regard.
I love that. No, that's very true. All right. To close out, Kritter, can you tell us something you're reading, watching, and or enjoying right now?
Absolutely. So right now I am rereading The Hobbit for the first time in a very long time for a podcast that I actually just started called But Are There Dragons, where me and my friend Jessica are reading it, and she has actually never read Tolkien's works. And so we're doing like a first time reader podcast. So rereading The Hobbit for the first time since I was a kid is so much fun. I highly recommend it if you haven't done it. Have you all read it?
I read it in high school, but I was a very late comer to the Lord of the Rings. I read the second and third one. I had read the first one at least 3 times and just never continued on, and so I read them in like the last 3 years, I think, Laura.
Nice.
So very
have you listened to The Hobbit or the audiobook with Andy Serkis?
That's what I'm listening to right now.
I love it so much.
Mind blowing. I am like, even so, whenever I read the books as a kid, I would have low patience for the songs, right? Because I was just like, I don't need. He sings them. Them. It's just, I love it so much. So, anyways, yeah, that's what I'm reading. Watching. I'm actually trying to watch American Horror Story for the first time, and we're on season 3, Coven. The first 2 seasons very much enjoyed. 3 is taking us longer to get through. It's not our favorite, but it's fun. And then enjoying no. Well, it was just Halloween and I love to cosplay. So honestly, I've just been enjoying dressing up like random people, including Moraine. I have a Moraine cosplay.
Awesome.
I saw that. That was amazing. You did such a good job.
Thank you.
Well, everyone, we want to thank you so much for coming on here.
Yeah, where can people find you?
Yes.
All over. I go by KritterXD. That's Kritter with a K, KritterXD, and I'm on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram. Although Instagram, there's an underscore because somebody stole my name, but they had it before. They had it before me, but whatever. I'm also on Twitter/X as KritterXD, and I have a Wheel of Time specific Twitter handle. I'm Egwene Alvier, coincidentally. So, so yeah, that's me. They can find me everywhere, and I have a Discord. So All good
Make
times.
sure you're checking all those things out. And the new podcast, But Are There Dragons? Oh, and my lights just turned off on us. But
Notice that. I was like, wow, I guess we're done.
I have my lights on a timer. So apparently they were like, it's 10:30 here.
What are you doing?
So make sure you guys are following Kritter everywhere. Make sure you're downloading that new podcast. And thank you so much.
Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. This was really fun. I felt like we really are 3 best friends, just even though this is literally the first time I've ever talked to
you. That's the goal. We're just trying to sit down and talk Wheel of Time until we make everyone our best friends. So.
It's working.
And you guys can follow us at OWWRpod on all the social platforms. So make sure you're following and make sure you're joining us next week for our no rules, whatever we're in at the moment. So.
No rules, end of the year.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.